Gosh, lots of lunatics about it again. Bibi says he must bomb your kitchen. Playgrounds bomb for Zog. Hospitals bomb for Zog. Food trucks bomb for Zog. Press schools bomb for Zog. Apartments bomb for Zog. Apartments bomb for Zog. Bullets fly, white phosphorus lights the sky. Buildings are blown and the innocent died. Israeli hospital will always lie. Hezbollah can make the demons cry. Israel has bullshit to sell. Magic temples and cows doesn't ring the bell. Demonic thugs who'd poison a well. Israel. Playgrounds bomb for Zog. Hospitals bomb for Zog. Food trucks bomb for Zog. Press schools bomb for Zog. Apartments bomb for Zog. Apartments bomb for Zog. Apartments bomb for Zog. Boycott Israel. Anti-cons. Zionists keep killing babies. There's blood on the floor. Murdering psychopaths. Follow the door. Playgrounds bomb for Zog. Hospitals bomb for Zog. Food trucks bomb for Zog. Press schools bomb for Zog. Apartments bomb for Zog. Apartments bomb for Zog. Boycott Israel. Anti-neocons. Zionists keep killing babies. There's blood on the floor. Murdering psychopaths. Follow the door.
You do audio only if you want. I mean, nobody needs to look at me.
Yeah, that's cool. Whatever. Yeah, audio is fine for me.
I don't think they care.
Yeah, that's cool. Then fine. Yeah, if you want to do audio only, that
Although
works
I got
fine.
a I got a nice Epstein hoodie. I think I should show off.
Sure, whatever you want, man. If you want to,
Yeah, let's do camera.
Okay, sure. Let me.
I have some stuff to show the camera later that I drew.
All right.
I couldn't find it anywhere. I had to draw it.
All right. Let me go ahead and get you. I'm gotta take this off. Give me one sec, chat. I am going to deactivate the camera here. Boom. All right, cool. All right, now you should be able to see me, and the chat can see me. They can see you as well. Let me see if I can do this. Zoom meetings, does that work? All right, perfect. Yeah, I think that's how that's supposed to go.
I see you. I can't see myself, but I've got these charts and stuff I'm gonna be making, so I wanted to
Yeah, no worries. If you don't want to
see my camera so I can make sure I'm show things and know that it's on the screen.
Yeah, I can't.
If possible.
Yeah, I can't see you, but that's fine. I got your Telegram here, where I'm gonna start bringing up some of the stuff that you sent me. So guys, Ryan sent me a bunch of stuff. We're gonna segue into. I was literally just watching Numek with them and going over the JFK stuff. So now I'm gonna go ahead and.
Dude, I feel exonerated on that, and there's a couple tweets about that I'd like to read on JFK. Just two things
please, go
before
ahead.
RFK,
Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
because it's like
you've been vindicated, man. You have
been waiting
vindicated.
for this day for I don't know, a decade and a half or something, and I'm just delighted that people are finally accepting this narrative. So we have one from Lee Stranahan. Why the JFK files release matter today? Yes, actually today, written in all caps. This is just perfect. A lot of people are posting clips from the newly released JFK files pointing out their importance. They're right, but not for the reasons they think. People see Israel mentioned and focused on that, but they're forgetting James Jesus Angleton, that is.
Mm-hmm.
And that partly explains why these documents have been kept secret for so long. And this is the bigger point. They're correct. This isn't just about who pulled the trigger on JFK. That question, while important, is a distraction from what the U.S. government is actively hiding, not just from the public, but from its own officials. The real buried secret is that the U.S. knew about Israel's nuclear program, and instead of exposing it, the deep state helped cover it up. And then they got in all caps, Angleton, the keeper of secrets. James Jesus Angleton, head of the CIA counterintelligence for over 20 years, was more than just a spy master. He was Israel's most powerful ally inside the U.S. intelligence. After his death, Israel gave him not one, but 2 memorials.
Yeah.
Think about that. A non-Jewish American CIA officer honored in Israel with permanent memorials. That doesn't happen unless someone played a critical role in protecting Israeli interests. And that's exactly what he did by making sure Israel's nuclear programs remain hidden from the official scrutiny. The real reason these files were kept secret, Israel has still never admitted to having nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
It's the only country in the Middle East with a stealth nuclear arsenal, meaning the world knows, but Israel refuses to acknowledge it. More importantly, the U.S. government pretends not to know. It goes back to John F. Kennedy in the early 60s. JFK demanded inspections of Israel's Dimona nuclear facility, suspecting they were building atomic weapons. Israel resisted, and then Kennedy was assassinated. After that, U.S. pressure on Israel vanished. No future administration seriously challenged Israel's nuclear program. The secrecy became policy. And then it goes on. It's a great tweet. But yeah, they got the bomb the following year. And I'll point this out too. The main, and this is in the New Mexico, but I'll just say it also.
Go ahead.
The whistleblower that went ahead, an Israeli Christian convert,
Mordecai Vanunu,
who went in and took pictures of the warheads, was nabbed by Robert Maxwell, the father of Glenn Maxwell, convicted pedophile. And that ring, that blackmail ring and that gun running ring all overlap with organized crime and deal with the players in both assassinations. So in New Mexico, crucial, and it's being vindicated. And there's some more too, like all over Twitter today. I guess they finally found those Angleton files.
Mm-hmm.
I think I said that on your show. You asked me, you like Corey wants the Oswald's mom and all that. I was like, I want the Roselli and I want the Angleton file. Like, that's what I want.
Yeah, because he testified in 1979, if I'm not mistaken, didn't he? And that was classified until recently.
Author, documentary maker, and journalist
Yeah,
John
he did. Well, they shot him. You're talking about Roselli.
Okay. Hold on. I'm going through the stuff that you sent me, by the way. I'm saving it on my desktop right now so I can have it ready when you.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you when to pull those clips up. I think that it's just visuals I think people will need.
Yeah. No, for sure.
And the acoustic evidence, I can't mimic the gunshots. You have to hear them.
Yeah. No problem. Chat, we are going to go into the RFK stuff because here's the thing. I think pretty much at this point, chat, we've established that Israel was absolutely involved and had crazy motive and killed. It was instrumental in the assassination of JFK. But we don't often talk about the Israeli links to the RFK assassination. I know we mentioned earlier the FARA registration and the fact that RFK was snooping around his brother's assassination. He never believed the Warren Commission, though he publicly acknowledged it and accepted it publicly. He never actually accepted it privately. And Ryan Dawson's going to definitely talk about that a bit more. So we're going to go into
I sent you that paper about the Foreign Agent Registration Act.
Yes, I'm saving them right now as we speak.
I don't know if you're showing it about that.
I'm saving them to the desktop, so I have them ready to go.
Okay.
So I'm getting all this ready right now. And then anything else you want to say about JFK as far as like the links go? I was in the middle of New Mexico. I had just gotten to the part where you were talking about Lyndon B. Johnson's Jewish descent. That's where I was in New Mexico.
Well, yeah, he was sleeping with Matilda Krim. And
yes.
Well, the church committee, I mean, they've unredacted some files there. And yeah, Israel, basically the U.S. had a faction inside that wanted to give Israel the bomb, and they did, but they had to get Kennedy out of the way. That's the summation.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's a very simplistic summation, but I can talk about JFK forever. But that's what's coming out. And Trump did do this. You got to give him credit. Like, I don't know if he understood, because you would have to have some context to connect those dots. He's like, well, you can release that. It doesn't say Israel.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, he didn't know that people were like, yeah, they just needed that stuff as far as like the Angleton stuff was super important. What are your, I want to ask this. We know that Jack Valenti was one of the shooters, right? Lyndon B. Johnson.
Jefferson Morley's vindicated too. And
you
can't see my camera, but I'm holding up a book from Doug Valentine.
Oh, yes.
CIA is organized crime.
Yep.
I don't know. Can you see the camera or no?
No, I can't see the camera. You got a black screen.
Later we'll flip it on. This is the book. A lot of people are vindicated. Michael Collins Piper wrote Final Judgment, getting into JFK and Israeli nukes.
Yeah.
Well, JFK in Israel, at least. Grant F. Smith talked about the nuclear program. He
Yep.
wrote Divert. All these people are being vindicated.
Yep. They call
And-
them kooky conspiracy theorists or anti-Semites for the longest. Grant F. Smith, he had quite a bit of involvement in your NUMEC documentary. Smart
I put
guy.
him in there because, like, unlike other people, I hat tip to other researchers. I don't just steal people's work.
Yeah.
I've interviewed him. I've gone to 7 of his conferences. He's the man on that issue. Now, I built the bridge between Sonborn and Epstein and some other things, but a lot of work on NUMEC. Ermec went and got those files. Motson's another guy, and he's in the film. Mersheimer's in the film too.
Yeah.
These people are John Mersheimer's. Everybody knows him by now.
I like John Mersheimer. I've looked at his
but
work
they didn't
too.
know him 10 years ago.
Yeah.
He kind of came to prominence when he wrote that book on the lobby, and then I guess more so because he's been on Judge Napolitano's show talking about the war in Ukraine.
Mhm.
But these people deserve more recognition because not only are they doing the work, but they're the ones who know it the best.
Yeah.
And that's who you should be listening to. Don't listen to someone who listen to someone who listen to someone like, dude, get the guy that went and got the primary sources. They're the ones that can really articulate these things. So all those people deserve prop. Michael Piper's dead, but he really got the ball rolling on this.
Yeah.
So, and his voice is at the end of NUMEC. That's at the credits. That's a conversation where he's talking to me. I cut myself out of it, but he's talking to me in an interview about JFK, and that's his voice at the end.
Okay, I always wondered who that was in the credits. Okay, so I think I have your documents here.
Author, documentary maker, and
okay, hold on. Yeah, I got the stuff here. I have the folder here with some of the stuff. I need to move this stuff over here. Okay, so let me go ahead. I'll just have the fucking folder. I'll just bring it right up on this screen right here. So I'll kind of put it to the side, but I don't know if can you see my, or no, you can't see my screen, can you?
I just see you.
You just see me, right? Okay, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go share screen. And can you see that?
Oh, yep, I do.
Okay. So
that's the stuff from Telegram.
yeah, these are the images and stuff like that. So let me go ahead and put this stuff over here. Yeah. All right, cool. So, bam. Okay. So we're here. Is there anything? So I guess you want to kind of start with a preamble or whatever, or how do you want to go over the RFK stuff first?
I think the best way to address it probably is to go over the official story first.
Okay.
Perhaps.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good idea.
So the official story is on the just after midnight, basically, RFK had won the California primary, so he looks like he was going to become president. He had just given a speech, and instead of leaving through the media, he kind of went back through a pantry kitchen area where he was shot, and a gunman, Sirhan Bashir, pops out of the kitchen and shoots him.
Mm-hmm.
And so it seems like, well, cut and dry. The guy shot him. They caught him right there, arrested him. That's it. He did it all by himself. But there's a lot of problems with it because Sirhan has an 8-shot revolver that shoots 13 times in front of Kennedy, hitting him 3 times in the back and 1 hot shot through his clothing.
Mm-hmm.
So immediately you have problems with the ballistics, and then you have too many shots and too many bullets. So even if he is a shooter, there has to be another shooter because 8-shot guns don't shoot 13 times.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fact that Sirhan is a Palestinian Christian with a newspaper clipping in his pocket about the Israel-Palestine conflict is a little too on the nose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In case they killed him right then and there, but like, look, he's a Palestinian, and look, he's got a newspaper on him about Israel.
Yeah, it's like they almost set it up.
And I'll tell you this, the Italian mob doesn't need to use a Palestinian patsy with a newspaper about Palestine and Israel in his pocket, do they?
No.
But somebody else would. Somebody.
We know who.
Yeah. And that's all the official story was just, and then there's some official kook stories, but I'm not going to get into them. The woman in the polka dot dress on, that's all forget about it.
Oh
It
bullshit.
doesn't
So
matter.
because I've heard the polka dot dress theory as well. You're
Nah,
saying
it's no,
that's
no, 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 it doesn't matter. Like that, like if you look at who those witnesses were,
mhm. Gotcha.
it's not-
Okay.
yeah, you don't need any of that. It's a big red herring, and you don't need it. So you've got a lot of problems with this story. So you've got the forensic evidence, which breaks down into acoustic evidence and like the physical evidence, and then you've got evidence from the coroner,
Mhm.
and which is a specific type of evidence, and then you've got all the eyewitnesses and things. So
Mhm.
starting off, like I said, you have 13 bullets from Sirhan's gun, which is a 22 caliber 8-shot revolver. That's
Mhm.
not possible.
Yep.
You had 2 in Kennedy, one under his ear, one in his neck, and 5 bystanders shot, and 1 in the ceiling. That's already 8 bullets.
Mhm.
Then you have 2 more bullets in the in a panel by the door, and another one.
Do you want me to show any of
near-
these pictures
near
that
the
you gave
ground.
me?
I do. So you can see in the pictures I gave you,
Yep. Which one you want me
the
to pull up?
one where, well, the lower one, you can see a cop with a flashlight and somebody with a pen sticking it in the hole. That's the lower one.
Yep. Right here.
And then, yep. And then you can see, I zoomed in on the holes.
Okay.
We've got a man, I think that's Thomas Noguchi, actually. He's got like a peace sign pointing at the 2
This hole's right
holes.
here.
Yep.
Okay.
You've got if you want a picture of the kitchen to see sort of how narrow it was, you can see one with a cop kneeling down looking at something, but that's sort of where the tables and the ice machine were.
Where is that? Was that cop?
That's right above the guy pointing at the 2 holes.
Oh, this one?
Let's see.
No,
There's a cop kneeling down. Do you not have that?
I don't think I do. Let me go back.
That's weird. It's on my Telegram. I guess it didn't go to your desktop.
Okay.
Well, anyway, so you can click on the one right next to the guy where there's a zoom up of the 2 holes with circles drawn around them. That's important because the FBI will say that, as will different witnesses who saw the crime scene. They not only saw the holes, but they saw that they've been circled and numbered, which means they definitely were observed and categorized.
Was it?
That's right in the middle. It's photo 2050320 something.
Okay, hold on. Let me find it.
It's in the top middle.
This
a
one?
little bit to the. Well, any of them you can show. They all show the holes. That's the point.
Okay, okay.
That one right there.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah, this one.
Next to
Okay.
him, that one's good. That's one. And to the left of that is a really close-up one.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So right there, you can see where they've circled these 2 holes.
Mm-hmm.
And I just showed you the guy standing up, pointing at him, so you can see the height of that. That's up, around shoulder high, or depending on your height.
Yep.
You can see the. I think you have one picture of William Harper and one of Thomas Noguchi. It doesn't matter, but anyway,
This one.
if you have 5 bystanders shot and you've got 2 bullets in Kennedy, another one that went through his jacket,
Mm-hmm.
well, 3 that hit him, and then you've got 1 in the ceiling, you've got 2 in that door frame, and apparently 1 lower down at a different door on the opposite side. That's the one they're poking a pen into. That's more than 8. So already, and he didn't have 2 guns. He wasn't like Yosemite Sam going pow, pow, pow.
Mm-hmm.
He had 1 gun. He got tackled after his 2nd shot. So that wasn't it. Obviously, there's another shooter, and well, let's go through more of the physical evidence, and I'll tell you about Thane. So Thomas Noguchi, first off, is the coroner, and he found powder burns on Kennedy's body.
Uh-huh.
They did chemical tests on his jacket, proving that.
And look at this. I got his autopsy right here. This is RFK's autopsy, which they say is one of the best autopsies ever done, by the way. Is there a part of it that you want me to pull up or anything like that, or no?
I mean, you can show where he was shot under his ear. The reason it matters is if you have powder burns on your head, then that's from the flash of the gun. It's got to be an inch or less away.
Yeah,
is what they're saying.
It's called, for the audience, it's called stifling, guys. So like when you get shot at close range, there's going to be burn marks on the skin. And in this case, I think it was like no more than 2 inches the shooter had to have been to have killed Robert F. Kennedy. And then, yeah.
Well, they said 1 inch.
Okay, 1 inch. Okay.
Whatever.
That makes sense.
nobody's going to fit in the space of an inch or 2 inches anyway. So it's like one Ben Shapiro penis away. It's pretty close. I will show you this about bullets too. Sorry, I thought I'd sent that, but I guess not. Okay, so then you have the chemical test on his jacket. That would have been enough, and the burn marks on his body. And then you've got the ballistic test. And
here it is right here. I can read this for you. It goes, in conjunction with the wound of entry, the right external ear shows on the posterior aspect of the helix an irregularly fused one form zone of dark red and gray stippling about 1 inch in greatest dimension along the posterior cartilaginous border and over a maximum width of about 1/4 inch at the mid portion of the stippled zone. This widest zone of stippling is approximately along a radius originating from the wound of entry in the right mastoid region, moderate edema and variable blah, 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 bunch of shit. But then, yeah, that's one of the wounds. And then the second one is they said it's a through and through wound of the right auxiliary medial shoulder and interior superior chest areas, excluding the thorax proper. The wound of the entry is centered 1.5 inches, it looks like, from the vertex to the right of the midline, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it basically confirms where you said the gunshot wounds were.
His upper right neck.
Yeah.
That's what that means. So you've got a chemical test on his jacket and you've got burn marks on the body. So you have somebody right up on him who shot him from behind, which is where Thane was. Sirhan could not have made those shots from the distance that he was at.
I'm going to pull up a picture.
And then
of
in
Thane
the ballistics
right
test, as I was saying, you have a nationally respected criminologist, William Harper, who compared one of the bullets he pulled out of the neck of RFK and one pulled out of a bystander named Woody Wiesel, who got shot in the stomach. And they have different firing angles, and there's all manner of problems with them. And another man named Herbert McDonald noticed that the bullet pulled out of RFK only had one cannular ring, and the one pulled out of Wiesel had 2. And I showed you a picture of a bullet. Those are the little rings you'll see on a bullet that helps it grip when you put it wherever you're loading it in your clip. And they're usually uniform. So if you have one ring on one, 2 on the other, those are for different guns.
Is that in one of the pictures you gave me?
Or from different clips. It's the last picture on your Telegram.
Let me
I just sent it. So
you just sent it now? Okay, let me pull it up right now.
Gun people know what I'm talking about. It's a little ring on the bullet.
Gotcha. All right, I'm gonna pull this up right now. Okay. Well, this is what you're talking about. Go ahead, I got it on screen.
So if you got different ballistics, wrong angles, different types of bullets, they're the same caliber, but they're different rings on them, which is unusual. Clips would be uniform. And then you've got the distance is wrong, and you have a chemical test. So you have scientifically proven he was shot by somebody standing right next to him with a gun right up on him. And that these 2 guns could not have made all the same shots. The angles are all wrong. And they're not ricocheting and bouncing around or anything like that either. Most of the 5 people, other than Kennedy, were hit. They pulled the bullets out of them. None of them died. One of them was critical, but nobody else died, just him. You know what's sad too is the last words out his mouth was, "Is everyone okay?" That's what he was thinking about. He actually died with Thane Caesar's clip-on right next to him. I sent you a picture of the necktie right next to his body. It's something like, it's almost like he pulled it off of him as he was going down.
Okay.
Okay. Signal.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So the guy that shot him, he pulled his clip tie off because, yes, this is very common actually in security, guys, where they can only wear clip-on ties. Let me get myself out the way. I'm sorry. They can only wear clip-on ties because they don't want it to be something that they choke them with. So here's RFK here. Who's this that's next to him that's holding him here?
That's the maitre d'. Okay. I'm going to give it his testimony too.
Gotcha. So this clip-on tie.
He was actually the only person between Kennedy and Sirhan. But the fact that you have a human body, at least, between Kennedy and Sirhan, it shows you it's more than an inch away. And I believe I sent you a picture that has X's on the floor, or did I not? Or maybe not.
I don't think I have that one.
Well, I'll give it to you.
Or is it this one? Or is this? I do have the screen here that shows the pantry and everything else. Is that what you wanted to see or no?
This one on the very bottom is most recent. You can see a white X on the floor and another X further away.
Okay, let me add that one right now. Okay, you just said that one. All right, so
That's how far apart they were, at least.
okay.
Because Sirhan was pushed over the like metal table, they're really low, and tackled immediately.
Okay, so he didn't even really get to fire any shots off. He got like maybe one shot off or two, but a lot of them came when he was getting tackled.
He got 2 shots off before they grabbed him.
Okay.
Then they dove on him. But
so
there
these
was an
X's,
eyewitness.
these X's
named,
represent how far RFK was from Sirhan?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Way more than an inch.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
You know, they might be off by a factor of whatever, but they're clearly feet apart.
And I think the other important thing to note here is that the kill shots, guys, for the audience, right, that might not be as familiar, the kill shots came from behind RFK versus Sirhan was visibly in front of RFK, and there were like 10 plus witnesses that saw this, right?
Yep, and he fired in front of him. He didn't turn around or anything either. And because Stain was shooting him in the back, he just went doom, 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 and killed him.
You know, that's crazy, dude, that he had the wherewithal to grab Eugene Thane, who's at the actual real shooter, chat, by the way, if you guys are wondering who the real killer was. It was a guy named, it's Eugene
Caesar. Nobody called him Thane, but he was holding his arm by the elbow, kind of like using him as a human shield and escorting him in because he knew what was about to go down. And the moment Sirhan got tackled, Thane shoots RFK, bang, bang, bang. Well, everyone's looking at that commotion.
Yeah.
And people saw him do it, but they just thought he was the bodyguard firing back at Sirhan.
And it's important to know, and here's a picture of Eugene Caesar right here, guys, for you guys. I got it on screen. He was a security guard on that day, and he was accompanying RFK through the hotel, the Ambassador Hotel. And you guys can see here, here's a map of it. They were walking through the pantry, which is a very narrow area, right? If I'm not mistaken. And the shooting happened in the pantry, right in front of the pantry.
Yeah, I have that more clear. If you can turn my camera on, I actually drew this for everybody.
Oh, okay. Let me go back to the Zoom call. I don't see your camera yet. I got my camera off on your side, but it's on the stream.
Well, I'm holding it up if it works.
No, we don't see your camera. You're off.
Well,
your camera's off.
I'm holding a picture of the embassy room and the pantry and the kitchen. I made a map. So
if you want a screenshot and send it to me on Telegram, if you send it to me on Telegram, I'll put it up.
You take a picture of the picture.
Yeah, take a picture of exactly, and just send it my way.
Do that. You know, but it'll work.
But I think the important thing for people to understand is this security guard, this is the guy that actually killed RFK, guys. And he was a security guard on that night at the hotel. He was like private security for the hotel, and he had a clip-on tie, and he was the one right behind RFK when the shots were fired by Sirhan. He was he basically used the event to get the shots off, and then bam, as RFK is going down, he grabs his clip-on tie, and that's what you guys see right here on the floor. This is the real killer. It wasn't fucking Sirhan. Physically impossible for Sirhan to be the shooter, guys.
That's right.
Okay, let me go
ahead. He led him into the kill zone. Yeah, they knew. And it was a guy named Fred Dunton that made the decision to, oh no, let's go through the pantry for some reason to avoid the crowds. You know, they were trying to get to the colonial room, which is on that map I sent you.
Okay, I'm pulling it up right now as we
walking
speak.
through the pantry.
Bam, here's the map, guys. Do you need me to rotate it a little bit?
You probably have to turn it 90 degrees, I guess, but
okay,
you can see
here we go.
That square above the words embassy room, that was the podium where he was speaking.
Okay.
So he just took a little loop, and there's like an ice machine and some tables.
Okay.
And a serving kitchen.
Yep.
And the main kitchen behind that. And so he's walking through there. And there is a way you can get to where the temporary press were in the colonial room. But yeah. And so they had a place away from all the TV cameras.
Where was he actually shot? Was he shot in the main kitchen?
No, he didn't make it to the main kitchen. He got shot in the pantry. That little hallway looking area.
Okay, so I'm looking at the ice machine here. You're like north of the ice machine is what you're saying?
I don't know if it was north or south, but it was like between the ice machine and those tables where he got shot, where there's an X on the floor.
Oh, I'm not looking at the picture. I'm looking at your map right now. Let me
Well,
get
see,
I'll get the picture again.
I was just gonna point at it with my finger, but I don't have the camera working.
All right, yeah.
Sucks.
So here,
That's
here's
Zoom.
okay. I see the thing here. So this is in the kitchen. It looks like I see our fridge here on the side.
Why is this not giving me my camera?
Hold on, I'm gonna get a picture of the
There it is. Okay. I can see me.
You can see it now. All right, let me pull you up
Can you
on
see
Zoom.
this?
Then. Yeah, I can see you. There you go.
Okay.
They got you now.
So here's the podium,
Okay.
and they walk up here. He gets to about there and shot. Sirhan is here.
Okay.
Is here, right behind him. Like, as soon as they got around the corner of that ice machine, they got pegged.
Gotcha.
But you had some people on this side and on this side, because some of them went like this, not like this. You go through here into this area, bam, got hit. And these doors are being guarded, by the way, to prevent crowds from going in there. And guess who was posted to prevent people from going in the kitchen? Eugene Caesar.
Ah, the security guard.
And the gardener, the William Gardner, he was the head of security, regular security at Ambassador Hotel. His guys didn't have guns. They were all wearing brown. They were normal bodyguards that, hey, get out, keep away, back up, whatever. But they didn't have any bullets or anything. Ace Security was the private one they hired, and that was a huge mistake.
Okay.
It's all mobbed up. But they walked him into a kill zone for sure.
Okay.
And just to more evidence about the bullets. So you had a couple more witnesses. You had Angelo DePiro and Martin Petruski, who both said that they saw bullet holes and a bullet in the door frame.
Mm-hmm.
So they have two different witnesses there. And you had an FBI agent who was there on June 5th. His name is William Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
And he got a really close look at it, and he saw 2 holes and 2 bullets.
Okay.
He was positive, and he said as much to the LA County Supervisor, Baxter Ward. So Baxter Ward can back that up too. They were all looking at the holes, and then later we'd find in the 70s that there's photos of it, and that's where I just showed you those photos where they circled the bullets. There's pictures of the holes, and they circled that too, and people have seen these.
Gotcha. Crazy stuff, man. So, question for you. So, I'll just call him Caesar. How
Sure.
did this guy, because this guy had a clearance, how the hell did this guy get in that situation where he was able to, how did he get in that position so close to RFK?
Because they told him to go escort him in through the kitchen. So he went and grabbed the back of his arm and was walking right behind him, because he knows. That's an odd thing for security, should walk in front of you. But he was walking in front of him, and he's like, yeah, get back, like, get away from RFK. And there were other people doing that. Once they're in the pantry area and they're away from the cameras, here comes Sirhan, all wild-eyed, gets tackled, Thane pulls out his gun, kills RFK.
Gotcha.
That's what he did. And if he had gotten caught right then and there, it really wouldn't have mattered. He's expendable.
Yeah.
But he didn't. Although people saw him, the fix was in. This wasn't just like the mob hired a hitman to kill RFK. The FBI was in on it. And I'll tell you how we know that too. Just a little bit more on the physical evidence in case someone's like, well, that's a couple eyewitnesses. I'm like, you've got the bullet holes. They tore that down, by the way. They physically got rid of the evidence. The whole hotel's gone now, but they ripped out the door frames, ripped out everything. There's no holes. Yes, there were. They're photographed. The FBI admitted it. 2 bystanders who were there witnessed it. Journalists admitted it. And then you've got the coroner evidence from Thomas Noguchi, and then you got Dwayne Wolfer, the police examiner, also agreed that the fatal shot was inches or an inch away from RFK's right ear. Less than an inch from his head. And then every single witness, all of them, which is unusual, placed Sirhan firing in front of Kennedy from far more than an inch away.
Mm-hmm.
And Carl Etker, that's who you were asking about. That's the one. He was standing between Kennedy and Sirhan. He's the guy that pushed Sirhan over the pantry steam table. He says right after the second shot, that could be why there's a bullet in the ceiling, because he went back and hit that or something. But he's standing between them, so there's no way he got that close. And he's in front of him, so there's no way he got all those shots that hit him in the back.
Okay.
It didn't seem to matter. It doesn't really matter how sloppy it is because they're going to control the narrative.
Yeah.
Is what happens.
And they had two fall guys there.
Yeah. You've got John Pilger was there. World-renowned journalist, super famous now for all his documentaries. He was there. I've got a clip of him talking. We can play it in a bit, but there was a CBS News reporter.
This guy right here, right?
Witness, and
I think I got him on screen. John Pilger, yeah, Australian journalist.
Yeah, very famous. He's super,
he just died.
reliable. It's where it says clip 1. It's the very first thing.
Okay. So he was there.
That's going over acoustic evidence, but we can skip it. You can do what you want. But like, he's there, and he will tell you that a man next to him. Well, let's go ahead and play that clip.
Okay.
Because he is saying.
Author, documentary maker, and journalist John Pilger gives his firsthand account as he was an eyewitness to the Robert Kennedy assassination.
There's no question that there was another gunman because one of the people who was hit, just grazed, was standing next to me, and that happened when Sirhan had been wrestled to the ground. So that's the interesting thing. There was another assassin or several assassins.
Shit. Wow. Yeah, and that's eyewitness from the scene that was there. As did he get hit in the situation?
The most important part of what he said is he was standing on Sirhan's side of the kitchen. So you got a bullet coming from behind Kennedy in that direction and grazing the person standing next to him. And Sirhan was already on the ground. He'd already been wrestled. They already had the gun away.
But there were still shots going off.
Yep, at least one.
Okay.
And it grazed him. So left a mark. So a bullet coming from the opposite direction of where Sirhan is shooting hit someone next to John Pilger. And he said, so there had to be a shooter or multiple shooters. Could have been 2 other shooters, but somebody from that side of the kitchen was firing towards us.
Okay. So let me, just for the audience so that they can illustrate this. So it's a kitchen, guys. It's dark. RFK is walking through this kitchen, right? So RFK, let's say this is my hand. This is RFK right here. This is Caesar right behind him, right? And then I'm assuming Pilger is somewhere in front of JFK or RFK.
He's behind. Yeah, he's in front of RFK and he's behind Sirhan.
And he's behind Sirhan. So
yeah. So Sirhan's not shooting backwards. You know?
So Sirhan pops out of nowhere, right? And this is a narrow alley, like a narrow corridor or whatever. So he shoots at RFK twice, but he misses. And he's in front of RFK. And you're saying the bullet that grazed Pillager, this guy right here, the bullet that grazed him, came from the opposite direction from where Sirhan was shooting. So in other words, the bullet came from behind Pilger, not from in front of him.
That's right. It grazed the man next to Pilger.
So in other words, there were 2 different shooters on opposite ends because there were bullets flying in both directions, which would have been impossible if it was just Sirhan himself shooting.
That's right.
Boom. Okay. Chat, you guys get that? I hope you guys give me ones in the chat, guys, if that all makes sense for you guys, because obviously this is a bit confusing, but I think it's important, like from a visual illustration. So, and let me get myself up here on screen real quick, just so you see. So, RFK is here. Caesar's right behind him, the security guard with the clip-on tie. In front of RFK is Pilger, and then in front of Pilger is Sirhan, and he pops out of nowhere. Sirhan fires 1 or 2 shots. Bullets miss their target, but Caesar, who's behind RFK right here, he fires shots, and one of those bullets goes through RFK and grazes Pilger, who's in front of RFK. Is that fair? Is that accurate?
Grazed the man standing next to Pilger.
Okay, cool. So that's how Pilger knew. That's how he knew that there were shots coming from behind him. Okay, and not in front of him because he saw Sirhan in front of him.
Yeah, he saw him on the ground already when a shot then hit his man next to him.
Okay, so even better. Okay, so Sirhan's on the floor at this point, and the bullets are still flying. All right.
That's right.
Okay, shit. Can you tell us a little bit?
And that is from one of the most reliable journalists that have ever graced the earth.
Yeah, so we got a solid witness there.
The man.
So let me ask you this then. Why Caesar? Why RFK? And like, tell us about this Caesar guy, because no one talks about him. Like, I can't even find a lot of documents on this fucking guy. Like, why Caesar? What was his intention? Why did he get put there? Like, tell us about this guy.
I got plenty on him, and I have plenty more on the physical evidence. We can skip it. I mean, it's kind of kicking a dead horse.
Yeah, the
But
physical evidence is very.
I do just want to say one more thing before we get to Caesar, because this implicates the police. You had Nina Rhodes Hughes, who reported that she heard 12 to 14 shots. And she's repeating this in her head, and it's like, da, 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 whatever. She might be off. You know, she's doing it from memory. But what she said was 12 to 14 shots. They changed her testimony and said that she said, I heard 8 shots.
Okay.
Even if she was wrong, that's not what she said. So you can't just change it to match what you need it to be. And that's what they did.
Okay.
And that implicates either the FBI did that or the LAPD did that.
Okay.
Because they changed her testimony. And she still maintains, no, 12 to 14. I can hear it in my head right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And here you go. You know, I think I got her on screen right here. Here she is. I don't know if you can see my screen, Ryan.
At the Ambassador. Nina Rhodes Hughes, an actress and volunteer for Robert F. Kennedy's 1968 presidential campaign, was an eyewitness to his assassination at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles. She was present in the pantry, and her account of the events has become a significant point of contention in debates.
Oh, yeah, you can see them. Look at everyone just rallying around Sirhan, grabbing him.
Surrounding the official version of the assassination. Rhodes Hughes later stated that she heard more gunshots than the 8 rounds Sirhan's revolver could hold, estimating between 12 and 14 shots. She also described Sirhan as being positioned in front of Kennedy, firing erratically, while the fatal shot, according to the autopsy, entered Kennedy from behind at close range. She reviewed FBI records of her initial testimony and claimed that her statement was altered or misrepresented, with investigators ignoring critical elements of her account. Rhodes Hughes expressed frustration with what she saw as a deliberate effort to suppress evidence, including the possibility of multiple shooters.
Wow.
Over the years, she became an outspoken advocate for reopening the investigation, insisting that the true circumstances of Kennedy's death had not been fully disclosed.
Let's talk about the shots a bit. Sirhan is the only person arrested, tried, and convicted in Kennedy's shooting. He's now looking to get a new trial, and it's partially based on your account of the shooting. And there's a dispute about what you're talking about, over how many shots were heard. And prosecutors say, you know, you heard only 8, and they all came from the same direction. Defense attorneys say more along the lines of what you're saying. You heard 12 to 14 shots. So which is it? You know, who's right?
Well, I was there, and the FBI, I don't believe, was. And when you have an experience like that, it's burnt in your memory forever, because not only is it a horrible tragedy, but it's it's something you just never, ever forget. And
Hold on. I'll just turn the volume up a little bit.
I relive it in a very, very realistic, like in a now manner. And I know that there were more, because as Rosie, as I said before, and Rafer went to tackle Sirhan, I started looking to my right, and I heard all these other gunshots, and he had already been subdued. And then I saw Senator Kennedy disappear from view. And I screamed, oh my God, and oh my God. And I saw him lying there, and I passed out.
Wow. Crazy shit, man.
So right there corroborates what John Pilger said.
Yep. 2 witnesses.
Sirhan's already on the ground subdued, and she keeps hearing shots.
Okay.
And they don't know each other, by the way. So,
Yeah.
But what's important about that to me is she told in her interviews, I heard 12 to 14 shots, and they changed it to 8.
Yeah. You know, there was some, I read somewhere, and I'd like to get your opinion on this. When I did some digging into the RFK situation, I was told that some of the LAPD detectives that ran this case also had connections with CIA and ran one of their witness programs or something like that. And they might have botched the investigation on purpose. What are your thoughts on that? True, not,
Nah.
bullshit? Okay.
Nothing to do with the CIA.
Okay.
This was
Okay.
you don't even need them in California. The mob ain't that whole hotel. I mean, Mickey Cohen had a gambling operation run out of the Ambassador Hotel. That thing was mobbed up from top to bottom.
Okay. So any other physical evidence before we get into the shooter, Caesar?
I mean, there's plenty. There's Well, there's more witnesses to it. I would consider acoustic evidence as physical evidence.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
You want me to play
we
it?
do have recording of the gunshots.
Okay, let me go ahead and play that.
I think it's clip number 1 or 2, whatever I sent you on where you've got it. Well, I can just tell you, make it easier. But yeah, they said Robert Jolene and Philip Van Prague analyzed audio recordings of the assassination, and they concluded 13 shots.
Hold on, I
And
have
then
it
you
here.
later you had
acoustics
forensic.
right now.
It's more than that. You had forensic audio specialist Wes Dooley and Paul Pegas. They're from the Audio Engineering Institute of Pasadena, and they found at least 10 shots. And the reason they say that is after, and you only need 9 is too many, but after 10, all the screaming and stuff from the crowd makes it hard to tell if it's a shot or what's going on. But nowadays, with audio software where you can strip white noise and isolate things, it's 13 shots. And so I just gave you the most modern one in the clip.
Okay.
You can play that.
I have it right now. I'll play it right now. So here's the clip that Ryan's
And
talking
by
about.
the way, all these clips, all this stuff that are in a film I made about assassinations and CIA hits, which is on my X account right now. If you're subbed, you can watch it right now. But that's where we're getting these clips from.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, I'll play this acoustic clip right now.
Led you to conclude that
Was in front of him.
So what has led you to conclude that there was someone other than Sirhan who was shooting at Robert Kennedy?
We've concluded that Sirhan not only did not shoot Senator Kennedy, but could not have shot Senator Kennedy. And the reason for that is Sirhan was never in a position where he could shoot Senator Kennedy from behind. And Senator Kennedy was shot 4 times from behind. 3 of the bullets entered his body, and 1 went through his suit coat at the right upper seam. In addition to that, 5 other victims were shot, and no single bullet hit more than 1 person. Therefore, there were 9 bullets into people that had to be accounted for. And that was the minimum amount of bullets. Sirhan's gun only held 8 bullets. As a result, there was a question from the very beginning, how was that possible to get 9 shots out of an 8-shot revolver? And of course, that was never answered by the investigating officers.
Well, there were 13 shot sounds that I found on that recording, up to the point where the screams just totally overrode all of the other audio, and it would have been impossible to recover any shot sounds beyond that point. So the discovery of 13 shot sounds in and of itself establishes a second gun from the standpoint of Sirhan's capacity being only 8 shots. The second discovery was the presence of 2 double shot instances, and that is 2 shots that occur so closely together as to preclude the possibility of having come from a single weapon.
Eugene Caesar, the man positioned behind Kennedy with the gun, claimed that he had already sold his gun in the month prior. However, it was discovered that he actually sold his gun 3 months after the assassination. Why did he lie about when he...
Guys, if you go to X, Rye Liberty, at Rye Liberty on X, and you sub, it's like $6 a month. You can watch that whole film right now. And it's a good one.
That's pretty.
I'm showing you the receipt. I believe it says September on there, 26, I think. You can see the receipt. September 6th,
yeah,
September 6th, 1968. Yeah.
I'm gonna pull it up on screen, a clear version of it right now. Let me find it. So
I put all these A and C logos on there so I don't get Whitney webbed,
Yeah, I get
so sick of people stealing my shit. So
fair enough.
It's not in the real video. I don't have that logos, obviously.
Sorry, you were saying with
But you got acoustic evidence right there, 13 shots, possibly more because there's all the screaming and stuff. I believe it's 13 because I just count the bullet holes and bullets. Okay, so there's 13 shots, way more than 8. You've got witnesses also saying shots were being fired after Sirhan was down and out. And you also have shots being fired in the direction of Sirhan when he's on the ground. And then you have the witnesses saying that, and they changed their statements. And I'm not going to go over every witness, but there's one other one I want to add because this one's important too.
Yep.
because it was a CBS News anchor, and there's not like a regular eyewitness. News people are always paying attention to these kind of things, and his name is John Schulman. And he said that Sirhan stepped out from the kitchen and Kennedy's bodyguard fired back. He saw Thane Caesar pull out his gun and fire his gun. He saw it. His assumption was, well, that's the bodyguard shooting back at Sirhan.
Sirhan, yep.
Yeah, well, it's a reasonable assumption. He's dressed like he's not dressed. He's a cop. So, the cop's shooting at the bad guy.
Yep.
And they asked Thane, well, did you shoot at Sirhan? He said, no, I never fired my gun. I had it in my hand, but I never fired it. That's what he said.
Yeah. Interesting.
Then he lies about when he sold it. Because he says, oh, I got a 36. I'm like, no, you have a 22 because all of you have them. You're a cop. What'd you do with it? Oh, I sold that 3 months ago. Oh, really? To who? And they go, and they get the receipt. September 6th. He shot in June. So he didn't sell it 3 months before. He sold it 3 months after.
Yep. And he lied about that to the police when they asked him.
Yeah, like, why wouldn't you just bury that? I'll tell you what, I think they love to have little trophies. They want the gun that killed Kennedy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he bought it from him.
Okay. So I guess we could talk now that we've covered the physical evidence, right? Because it's pretty much irrefutable now at this point that Sirhan was in front of RFK when the shots were fired. And the gun that he shot only had 8 rounds, yet multiple witnesses put us at, 12 to 14 shots that they heard, credible witnesses at that. And then we know that the law enforcement twisted the story and tried to say that it was 8 shots to match the gun that was fired by Sirhan. But the interesting thing is that we have witnesses that literally saw Sirhan on the floor, but also heard gunshots happening. And then we also have witnesses saying that they saw Eugene or Caesar fire these shots, the security guard, but they thought that he had been firing the shots at the perpetrator, Sirhan, but in reality, he had fired at Kennedy. Then we have this picture right here, where clearly this shows that Kennedy was very close to his assailant because he was able to go ahead and get this clip-on tie, which I did not know about this detail. That might have been almost like a dying message from him to grab the person that shot him. And the other thing as well, I think that's also important, is that the bullet holes show all over the place that there were, in fact, way more than just 8 shots, which, you can see here, law enforcement going in here and looking at the bullet trajectory and looking at the holes.
Right.
So
and then you have the coroner evidence showing the burn marks on his body and in his jacket. And then just to add to that recap, it's not just a witness, it's a CBS News anchor. And it's just not a witness on the bullet holes. It's an FBI agent saying, yeah, I was there. Here's the holes. I saw 2 holes, 2 bullets here and here. Photographed them.
Yep.
We have photographs of the holes. They tore down they physically removed everything, but too late. And they were like, oh, what are they? Nail gun holes or something? Like, come on, they had bullets in them. Umpteen witnesses. So everything you just said, plus that little bit I just added, and there's more, but I think
I think that's more than enough. I think my chat, guys, guys, give me ones if that's not pretty convincing physical evidence that there is no way that Sirhan was the shooter of RFK. I mean, him just being in front of him alone and having a gun that has 8 bullets. Meanwhile, witnesses here 14. And I think and then obviously the physical evidence that shows the stifling on his body, that he was shot at close range from like an inch. The only person that was close to him that was armed like that was Thane Caesar. And then the other thing that's also interesting when it comes to Thane Caesar, your story where he lied to the police and said that he sold his gun 3 months prior, but in reality, he sold the guns 3 months after the assassination in September of 1968 versus...
And we have the receipt.
And we have the receipt.
It's kind of like slang. I got the receipts.
Yep.
We actually have the receipts.
Yeah, because the person he sold the gun to, chat, was smart enough to have... the receipt for it to show that he purchased it in September of 1968, 3 months after the assassination of Robert F. Kennedy. So the physical evidence, I think, and everyone in the chat's giving me ones. They're like, yeah, literally, we made our case to them. So now that we've established...
And here's the other thing. Now let's reverse it and say Thane's the shooter.
Okay.
Does that match the evidence? He's right behind him. Everybody witnessed that.
Yep.
He is an inch away. That would match the burn marks. His gun's the gun that matches the candlers of the rings on the bullets and everything. He's the one that let him in there. And I'm going to get into this dude is mobbed up like he's not a regular security guard. He only worked there a day. He was a replacement rent-a-cop that works for Ace Security. which was run by the U.S. National Bank of San Diego. Like, it was
I didn't know
anyway.
that he only worked there for a day. So
Well, he'd worked there before, but he wasn't a regular. Like when they needed to do a job, they would bring in Thane. So he got told June 4th, you're going to the Ambassador Hotel. This is what you're going to do. He wasn't even a regular. They just brought him in when they needed, a contract coming.
So let me ask you this, because now I'm going to kind of just have you go into who this guy is, what his background was, what his reason was. I see here that it says that he was a far right person politically. He supported the segregationist presidential campaign, Alabama Governor George Wallace. He called the Kennedys the biggest bunch of crooks that ever worked the earth. So yeah, and then also if you can also link RFK.
Yeah, but he didn't do this on his own, and he didn't set up Palestinian patsy. Come on.
Okay.
You have larger forces at work.
So I'm gonna just kind of
like the Kennedys, so he got himself a job for a day to be a security guard, so he could go kill them. This was a contract killing. They set Sirhan up so that Israel could like, oh look, a Palestinian did it. Ooh, those evil Palestinian terrorists, they killed beloved Kennedy. The exact opposite. It's kind of like the anthrax notes in 9/11 that said death to America, death to Israel. Just right on the nose.
Yeah.
You could say. Too much, too over the top. But that's classic them.
Okay, so I see here it says Caesar worked for Hughes Aircraft and later in Lockheed facility in Burbank that built U-2 spy planes for the CIA. He also was a security guard for A Security Services before assassinating RFK. He was seen in Las Vegas with a hitman from Florida. So I'll kind of just I'll turn it to you, Ryan, if you can kind of tell us who Thane Caesar was, number one. Number two, how he got in this position. And then number three, if you can link it back to Israel, because I know that you said that you have a very clear link between Caesar to the Israeli government and what the motivation was. I'll just turn it over to you, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so I can go in the background of Sirhan too, and Thane. Sure. But it's just like Kennedy. When I'm talking about, like, the reason they killed him was so that they could give Israel a nuclear weapons program. And the reason they have to get rid of RFK is because he's looking into his brother's death. And he also supported right of return. He also supported registering the Zionist American Council under Farah, now called APAC. They had to kill him also. And the mob really didn't like him. He thrown Hoffa in jail. That was a big one. He sent Carlos Mosello to Guatemala. He had embarrassed all these high-level capos and things in the mob. So you didn't have to twist their arm when the contract came down from their quote-unquote new Jewish backers to get rid of these men. So looking into Thane, the Lockheed no-show job, all that, yeah, he's mobbed up. But all that stuff's extra. I'm just going to grill it down to all you really have to know.
Okay.
So Ace Security was an outfit for the U.S. National Bank of San Diego, which had been bought out by what will become a Nixon crony named Arnholt Smith. He's a multimillionaire. So that's like a billionaire today. He was a hardcore Nixon guy, and he set up what we call a zaibatsu in Japanese, but it's where he owns a bank and then he owns a company called Westgate, California, which is a conglomerate of things. So it had like a tuna packing, yellow cab, all kinds of diverse businesses. And he would give himself no interest loans from his own bank, and he would also provide loan sharking and bankroll the mob, basically, especially out there in California. Now, the California mob is a bunch of guys from the East Coast that came over. They take over Hollywood. They're in San Diego. They're in LA. They're all over the place. And that would include gangsters like Cohen. Cohen was in jail when RFK was killed, but he had deep ties to the Ambassador Hotel, and he had deep ties to Westgate, California. Westgate and the U.S. National Bank of San Diego were vital to all mob interests. I mean, they had a bank. That's a big deal. When you capture a bank, and he bought it out. He had to sell it to Roy Kroc. He did not know that guy started McDonald's, but whatever. There were talks of contract killings on RFK. There's a jail witness that overheard Jimmy Hoffa and Carmine Galante talking about putting a contract killing on RFK, raising the money for it. And Hoffa definitely wanted him dead. And then it's these same Nixon cronies, because Nixon commuted Hoffa's sentence in 71. He's supposed to be there 12, 13 years. He gets out. Nixon gets in president, becomes president by December. Hoffa's out of jail, just like that, because they got rid of Kennedy, and that assured Nixon's victory.
Yep.
And he worked with these people. They put millions of dollars into his campaigns, and they also backed another someone that ran for governor in California, you may know, named Earl Warren.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Carmine Galente, by the way, if you don't need a bio on all these people, I can skip it, but I just
No, go ahead. Go
He
through it.
is,
As you're talking, Ryan,
he
I'm
is
pulling up these guys.
underrated as far as like
Ryan,
people
Ryan,
know Lansky.
Ryan, hold
Go ahead.
on. As you're talking, I'm pulling up these guys on Wikipedia. So go ahead. I'm literally pulling them up as you're speaking, so the audience can see what you're talking
Okay. Well,
Keep going.
Wikipedia is whatever.
about. Yeah, I know it's
better than
retarded, but just
nothing.
so they know who they are.
Yeah. This guy was did not need to be. He definitely needed to be in jail. He was still running stuff from jail. He was like they based a DC villain off of him named Falcone, and they have a Galente, same name actually. They use that. He's called the Roman in the Batman series, whatever. He's very famous mobster, but he doesn't have the name recognition of Capone or Hoffa or Anastasia or Lansky, Siegel. Those are kind of the Lucky Luciano, I guess. The more Hollywood, the ones that Hollywood pushes, I guess.
Yeah.
But he was, what you have to understand in the mob is the less famous ones were better at being criminals.
Gotcha. Of
You
course.
don't want your name out there.
Yeah. Of course.
But, and I'll show you this. This is neat. I drew this last night. For those who don't know, I'm in Korea, opposite time zone. So I just kind of roll out of bed and say, "Yeah, here's what happened to RFK." Let's see if I can pull this up.
Yeah. When you're ready, let me know, and I'll pull up the Zoom meeting. So Earl Warren, you said his connection was say that one more time with Nixon. What was the deal with that? So Nixon pardoned Hoffa, and
Well, he's getting money. They're all getting money from West Bank, California, and they're all getting it from Arnholt Smith. Where's my marker? You ever heard of the of this creature? You hear it about them boys all the time. You know what this is?
oh, the octopus. Yeah, it's considered anti-Semitic. Yeah.
Here's why. And I'll show you this. This is a very basic skeleton of the mob.
Okay.
I need a whiteboard, but this way, yeah. So usually, you've
Oh,
got
yes.
your boss and your underboss.
Yep.
And your consigliere.
Yep.
And sometimes this is higher than this, and sometimes this is like the boss's family, like actual son or whatever.
Yep.
Sometimes you have a very powerful underboss, though, but this is the basic structure at the top.
Mhm.
That is your head. And then under them, you've got your capos or your area leaders.
Yep.
And under your capo is your soldiers.
Mhm.
Under your soldiers are the associates. And that looks like this.
Ah.
There is your octopus.
Gotcha.
And here's what's interesting. This guy down here on this leg
Mhm.
has no idea what this leg's doing or this leg's doing.
Yep.
That's why they say the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's compartmentalized. That's what they mean by that, where the underboss knows what all the capos are doing, but they don't know what each other's doing. Their soldiers certainly don't know, and the associates don't know. That way you can't get some guy at the bottom and just have him plea bargain up all the way to the boss, because it won't go up the chain. So you might get to a capo maybe.
Yeah.
So, and they'll more than likely kill you before your trial's over anyway, but
Mhm.
that's the way that works.
Yeah, and I got a picture up of an octopus showing the organized crime thing that you're talking about right now. But yeah, no, I've seen this a bunch of times. And a lot of people that watch me, because I've covered the mafia extensively, but it's good to give that refresher on how the hierarchy goes. So back to Thane Eugene Caesar. So, okay, so the links are basically he was connected. If you can go through it one more time, just because it was a little bit.
Oh, I was just scratching the surface. I was gonna say, I'm setting something up. So I wanted to mention that there is a contract killing for RFK.
Okay.
And
gotcha.
that this was overheard by witnesses, and Hoffa and Galente are planning this, and then Nixon springs Hoffa out of jail. He also got a bunch of crooks out of jail, like diehard people that like poisoned people, shot people, murdered all these people. Nixon commutes their sentences.
Okay.
What's he doing? You had a syndicate president because they were financing his campaigns.
Okay.
They pushed for him in California, and they pushed for him to become president. And by getting rid of Kennedy, because Nixon lost to John Kennedy, and he did not want to lose again to Robert, and he was going to.
And they used the mafia to rig it, didn't they? Joe Kennedy set that up.
Yeah, well, they both cheated. I mean, Joe Kennedy was also not the cleanest guy either. But
RFK's father,
his sons, very different. They went after the mob.
Yeah,
they committed adultery, whatever. Bobby Baker had some dirt on him. It really didn't affect them. People, they were worried about other things. There was Vietnam going on, civil rights, all these different things, and John Kennedy came off very well on TV with ladies. He got the girl vote.
Yeah.
Nixon, no.
The dude was a Chad. He was definitely a Chad. He was young, one of the youngest presidents, I think the youngest president at that time. So that makes sense.
I believe he was the youngest president still.
Okay.
He's in his 40s, yeah. That was part of that Dukakis debate with Bush, or with Dan Quayle, sorry. And he said, and Dan Quayle was very young. He goes, well, Kennedy was the same age. And he goes, I worked with Robert Kennedy. I knew Robert Kennedy, Senator. You are no John Kennedy. This is such a slam.
So let's go back to just so that we can stay focused on Caesar and his connection and how the hell he even got in this position to do what he did. So he works for a company, Ace Security. You're saying Ace Security was the security that ran for a bank, if I'm not mistaken?
It is. And so that was an outfit. It's like, if you want to get close to somebody, you become part of their bodyguards. You get the rent-a-cops, private police, private security is the perfect way. You're there and you're armed and they trust you and you have access. So once you lead him away from the cameras into what I call the kill zone, you shoot him.
Gotcha.
And they had a Palestinian patsy. And because Sirhan was $28,000 in debt, they brought him over he worked at the Corona Horse Ranch because he was a gambler. And this will tie into what I'm about to say about Thane too.
Yep.
But he's working for Frank Donaramus. He's a mobster from New Jersey.
Okay.
His real name is Henry Ramestella. I don't know if that's important if you're pulling it up, whatever. But Sirhan, he worked at the San Annie racetrack too, and then later the Del Mar racetrack. So in 1966, he gets recruited to the Corona Horse Breeding Farm to work for Frank Donaramus. So why this random Palestinian guy who's in debt is working for a hardcore mobster from New Jersey that moved to California?
Interesting.
And his name's all over the notebooks and stuff where Donaramus had hired him.
Let me pull this guy up.
This
What's his
random
name again?
guy getting a job here, and he just happens to kill Senator Kennedy, and just by coincidence, he worked for the mob.
Hold on. What's this guy's name one more time? Dioramas? What is it?
Donaramus, Donnerummas. Kind of a long one.
Okay. Donaramus.
Or Henry Ramestella. I don't think you'll find him as Ramestella, though. Donaramus is what he's known as now.
Frank
Donaramus.
Okay.
They knew. He pulled him in 66. Now he's shot in 68. So they've got this guy working under the tutelage of what you could call the Italian mob. All at this point had merged together with the other boys. He's in debt, and he's got this weird notebook that had all these messages in it that look like what Hollywood thinks a crazy person is like, where they just write kill, 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 Robert Kennedy, death, death, and stuff like that. All like pages and pages where he writes his name and says he has to kill him. And then the newspaper photo of Sirhan, I sent it to you. They got his eyes like Charles Manson. He just looks nuts in the photo they chose.
Oh, yeah. I got it right here.
And this is like, if this guy says anything, well, he's just crazy. Look, he wrote in his notebooks to kill Robert Kennedy hundreds of times. He just pages and pages, must kill Robert Kennedy, must kill Robert Kennedy. Well, what's going on? That was planted 100%. Because even if he was crazy, that's not how crazy people behave. That's how crazy people behave in movies.
I got his
That's
picture
not
up
how
right now.
schizophrenics are.
Yeah. He couldn't even remember
That's like
anything.
from the movie The
Sirhan.
Shining or something.
Yeah, he couldn't even, he doesn't even, he doesn't even he doesn't even remember what the fuck happened to him. But yeah, so okay,
No, they
so
drugged him out of his mind, I'm sure, but like they just put him there, gave him a gun. Like, how was he hiding in the kitchen the whole time? I mean, he walked in there is what happened because Thane's the one watching the door. That you're there, I'm here. I mean, he is guilty. He was part of it. Whether it's because they were going to kill his whole family and he was in debt, whatever, and he's not going to open his mouth. But the whole thing fell on him, even though you have witnesses seeing Thane fire his gun. He just goes and retires to the Philippines.
yeah.
He was
Okay.
taken care of.
So
He
let
became a
me
made man.
So
you
let
could
me
say.
so let's kind of go through this because we're going really into the weeds, and I kind of want to give the overview for the audience, and then we can go into the details. So let's go through it one more time. So Caesar, the killer here, the security guard, he basically acted on a contract that was on RFK's head where they wanted him gone because he was investigating his brother's death. He was still trying to get the AZC, American Zionist Council, to register under FARA. And quite frankly, he could potentially become the president. And that would have been very problematic. And he was going after the mob. So a lot of people wanted him dead, just like his brother. So you're saying that Caesar basically got the contract, and they were able to do that through him getting in through the security angle, which makes sense. I mean, he's right next to you. He's armed. And then you got a patsy ready to go to take the blame. That's a Palestinian Christian that doesn't even remember what's going on because he was, fed some drugs or whatever. It was
With a newspaper in his back, just in case he got shot that day or whatever.
Okay.
Just so everyone knows his motive, right?
Exactly. So yeah, exactly.
Gee, who would want to do that?
So like they had it
And
like
so
ready
Thane's
to go.
called that day, like the day before. You go in there, June 4th. They call him up. He's got to be the Ambassador Hotel. Get him. Make sure you're next to him.
Okay.
And he did.
So
And
why? How? So he basically. So how do we have the? Can you tie us with Caesar?
let me go a little deeper on Thane. So
Okay.
not only is he working for ACE, okay, which is run by this bank, Westgate, California, the co-director is John Alessio. He's a shareholder, and by 1960, Arnholt Smith and Alessio had combined their holdings. So he was really right at the same level as Smith. Alessio is straight up mafia. Okay. He's got a bunch of different names. We're just going to call him Alessio. Okay. His real name was Giovanni Silvano Alessio, whatever. He was running a gambling operation too. He had a horse and dog track. And what he'd do is he would have a gambling operation in the US, racetracks, and another one in Mexico. And then he'd just do this booking operation where in America, it's illegal to bet on races, but in Mexico, it's not.
Okay.
But what you could do is he would just process the bets on the American races in Mexico.
Okay.
And he would do this over and over, and it would all go, he'd have to use this bank. He'd have to use the mob bank to do it. So the mob bank, the bank is acting as for all the money transfers and everything. And so he had a lot of operations in Mexico. That's where Thane comes out of, because Thane got in trouble in Tijuana.
Okay.
Got arrested for multiple times, but it all gets explained. Now we know he got arrested because we know people who knew him and knew that he got arrested. But Alessio went in there and got everything expunged. Everything's been taken care of.
Okay.
So he can come back to the U.S., clean record, gets to be a cop. Like it's just insane. But he's a cop for the mob, so it doesn't matter. But he got all his arrest records erased, and Thane owed him one because he can ruin him in a second. The fact that Smith has Alessio on there is bad enough. And then it gets worse because another large shareholder into Westgate was named Mosley Dalitz. You know who that is. That's Mo Dalitz. And they're the ones buying up the Desert Inn and all this stuff with Hank Greenspun and stuff that you probably played in New Mech.
Oh, okay.
Refer to that. That whole thing, that's this. Okay.
Hold on.
Same.
What's his name? Mo Dalitz?
Mo Dalitz.
Hold on. Let me pull this up for the chat. Was this for Mo? M-O?
Mosley, but yeah, Mo. Yeah, everybody knows this Mo.
Mosley and Dalitz, D-A-L-I-T-Z?
Kansas City mobster. He is working with Smith, working with Alessio, and Hank Greenspun, who's doing illegal arms shipments to Israel. Okay.
Okay, I got him up here on screen right now. So he's a casino owner, philanthropist from Vegas.
$500,000 to Nixon. him and Cohen both did. Cohen also donated to Ergun. Okay, so did Greenspun. 1.2 million. No, 1.4, excuse me, 1.4 million. And you see that number a lot. It's always for that reason, 1.4, 1.4, 1.4. They put in these things. They take over the Flamingo Hotel, blah, blah, blah. That's a long story. Doesn't matter. Here's the thing. They're all mafia, okay? Jewish mafia, Italian mafia.
Same thing, yep.
Yeah, well, one obeys the other. But anyway, that is who did the contract. That's who put him there. Said, you're working for Ace. You're going to be here June 5th. Contract's been paid. And then here's all your backers, Cohen and Dallas and the usual dim boys.
Okay, question for you. So Alessio, this mob guy that runs a horse gambling ring out of Mexico, you're telling me that Thane Caesar worked for him, and then Mo Dalitz backed Caesar to be in position to get at the hotel. I'm just a little confused by that relationship.
Well, there's layers in between. There's a guy named John Andrew Donnelly. He's a lawyer. They were messing with yellow cab money with Dallas and stuff, but it all goes back to Arnold Smith and Alessio. They're the ones running this bank. They're the ones running Westgate, California. They do all these no interest loans to mob outfits, and they are also packing Nixon so he can win.
Let me just go through this. Let me
It's
just
like
stop
a
you real
mafia
fast,
conglomerate.
because I'm confused.
This is who hires Caesar and puts him there.
All right, let me make sure I have this right. So Alessio and Smith run a bank as well as illegal gambling out of Mexico. Caesar is arrested in Mexico, so he owes these guys one because they basically got him off the hook. So they tell Caesar, we got a contract that you need to fulfill. Contact Mo Dalitz and these guys that are, members of them boys. And they basically were the ones that set him up to be in position to kill RFK. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and I'm oversimplifying because I get criticized for dropping too many names and making things complicated. But I'm like, look, guys, this is the truth. So I'm just going to say these things, and you don't have to follow it. But here's some homework for you. If you want to really get into what I just explained, you're going to have to know about John Donnelly and Lewis Lipton and William Lipton and Frank Desmond, who was at the Kosher Nostra meeting, by the way, and all that with Alessio and Smith and da-da-da-da. Suffice it to say, and I'm going to do like an RFK film is what's going to happen, I think. But
yeah, because I'm already lost.
Cabal made a contract killing, put Thane where he needed to be. The expendable shooter isn't that important in either Kennedy case. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's why they were killed. And it's the force that was like, how could you get the FBI and the LAPD to change stories? I'm showing you the larger criminal body that had power straight from Nixon and straight from Warren, straight from these people, governors and president, well, eventually president. This is who was backing this and covering this up. And then Nixon commutes Hoffa's sentence. It's truly nuts.
Why did Nixon
really bother you?
Why did Nixon commute his sentence knowing that RFK literally ran a crusade against Jimmy Hoffa and the mafia? Why did Nixon commute a sentence?
He owed the mob. The mob helped finance him, and they all had dirt on each other.
Okay.
And the mob got rid of Kennedy, so he had to get him out. It's like, look, if we get rid of Kennedy, one of these conditions is we're going to push your campaign, and you're going to get Hoffa out of jail.
Okay.
And he got them all out of jail, not just Hoffa. It doesn't matter. Like, if you want to, we can do a Nixon thing, but I'm not saying he was as a president, he did some good things, but he definitely was tied to the mob. There's no question about it.
Well, I don't think the audience knows how powerful the Italian mafia was prior to the 1980s. Like, obviously,
they were on top. They were on top. They were bigger than the Jewish mafia in the beginning.
Yeah,
but
because people tend to see this watered down version of the mafia, after the Giuliani era of the 80s. I don't think you guys
like Gotti and
the mafia ran the country before that. Gotti was the beginning of the end, guys. I'm talking Prohibition era onward. Even J. Edgar Hoover was scared to talk about the mafia because Mayor Lansky had him compromised.
Yeah, Trafficante and the Marcello brothers. Everyone talks about Carlos, but Joe also. These guys, look, the guys that were really making money, you don't know their names. Nobody knows what I just said about these banks and stuff till just now. I 100% confidence in that. And let me just let me cook. Okay.
Yeah,
So
go
here we
ahead. Sure. You go ahead.
Grant Cooper.
Okay.
Ring a bell? No? Okay.
I'm gonna
The
pull him
defense
up real
counsel
quick.
for Sirhan is Grant Cooper. Grant Cooper's a mafia lawyer. He defended 4 co-defendants of Johnny Roselli, and I know you know who that is.
Hold on. I'm pulling up
You
Grant
talked
Cooper
about
right
him in one of
now.
your shows, I believe.
I'm
So
pulling.
Johnny Roselli, the one that gets cut up and put in a drum and thrown in a lake in Florida because he testified to the House Select Committee on Assassinations, who said they're going to kill Kennedy. I mean, just talking about John Kennedy. He was in this thing called the Friars Casino scandal. It was a big deal. Anyway, Grant Cooper is representing Roselli and 4 different co-defendants.
Gotcha. I got John
Called
Roselli
the
up here
Friars
now.
Club case. If you want to look at it, go look it up. Now, Roselli was murdered because he was talking to the committee about JFK. All his testimony is classified. Still is. That didn't get released. Damn it. They cut up his body and put it in a drum. This is worse than what they did to Sam Giancana. They shot him in the mouth, as way of saying, don't run your mouth. But they put his body in drums and let it rot in the ocean.
Yep. I have it right here. I'm looking.
Yeah.
I got it up while you're talking. I have John Roselli's death right here for people to see.
Yeah. Cooper's defending him. Now, this is so perfect. As he's the lead, defender for Sirhan. He's not defending Sirhan. They are defending themselves. They are making sure that all the blame goes on this crazy guy with a crazy notebook who killed Kennedy over Israel and Palestine. That's what and he's a Christian. So. But in 1969, this is like 6 months later, the end of the case, he had unauthorized possession of secret grand jury testimony. Gee, what would the mob do with that? The mob uses that to figure out who witnesses are so they can get rid of them.
Bam. Okay. Wow.
Oh, by the way, I didn't even say this, but the witnesses in this case, like William Harper, they shot up his Buick. They shot his car. Okay. He had, then you had investigators in it. By the way, Thomas Noguchi got fired. Godfrey Isaac got his job back, but they fired the guy that said the truth about the burn marks. So you had a drive-by shooting. You had Walt Emerson, who was getting death threats, and because he was researching it, and a guy named Theodore Chirac got assaulted with a gun, and his secretary, Betty Dreyer, got knifed. Now, Sirhan is not running around stabbing people and hitting people with guns or shooting up cars. Okay, that's the mob.
Gotcha.
It's not Sirhan. Okay. Now back to Grant Cooper. So he's got possession. I don't know why this is funny, because it's just so like, how does this exist? Like, why does this story take this long to figure out is beyond me. But he's jury tampering. He's got possession of secret grand jury testimony for a different case. So he gets dropped off of Sirhan because of that. So his co-counsel, Russell Parsons, takes over, also a mob lawyer. Yeah, he's routinely defended a bunch of mob people too, including Cohen. He wrote him a reference letter even for Mickey fucking Cohen. Like, oh yeah, what a great guy. This man, Russell, had been investigated by the chief counsel of the Senate Racket Committee. Guess who that was?
Who's that?
Robert Kennedy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. A man that Robert Kennedy had investigated is the one defending Sirhan after the other guy had to drop because he was jury tampering and and they all work for the mob.
So this lawyer
and then
was
he
put
writes
in
a reference
place.
letter for Cohen, like I said, to the Cleveland authorities once he gets out of jail.
So
and
Cooper,
of course, Cohen to run an operation, illegal gambling operation out of the same hotel. They let him do it. That tells you a bit about Gardner and the rest of them.
So Grant Cooper was there basically not to defend Sirhan, but to ensure that he actually went to jail.
To limit it to Sirhan and make sure it didn't go anywhere else.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Partisan did the same thing. Make sure all Sirhan did it by himself. He's nuts. That's it. Never went over the physical evidence or anything. In the LA, they just zipped that up and didn't let anybody see it, tore down the hotel. There really wasn't attention on the Kennedy murders until after the Zapruder film came out, and that was way after 68. That came in the 70s because C.D. Jackson, who owned Time magazine, died. He's the one that bought that film, and he only released still photographs. We can't tell from the photographs what's going on. Anyone that's seen the film, that's the whole Garrison back and to the left, blah, blah, blah. Once you've seen that motorcade footage, you're like, wow, the brain went out the back of his head. That means somebody in front of him shot him. No shit. I'm not going to get stuck on JFK, I promise. But anyway, because of that is why people got interested in studying both assassinations. And so it's not until after that that we didn't have the photographs of the bullet holes and stuff until the 70s either. But Sirhan's already in jail, did it all by himself. The mob there, Nixon's president. You're not going to get anywhere with it, okay? And they limited it. And so the information I'm going over now, we didn't have the acoustic evidence. We didn't have pictures of the bullet holes. We didn't have this. It wasn't until the House Select Committee on Assassination starts digging into John that people started talking about Robert at all. But the whole focus was on the president, obviously, it was on John Kennedy. Yeah. I understand that. I get it. But as you know, they just, the Warren Commission was trash. And that, because Earl Warren's on it. And they just classified everything.
Question
now,
for you.
Slowly got released a lot in 2017, and some got released like 2 days ago, but not everything. And I pointed this out. I don't know if I was on your show or if I was just talking to you on Telegram. I can't remember, but I'll just say it again. The documents that are released were only the ones that went before the 1992 review board, which is not all of them. So you're only seeing stuff that's already been filtered that was marked secret, and now it's not. There's another trunket that it's never seen the light of day, never is going to.
So Earl Warren, real quick, what was his beef with RFK specifically?
That comes from Murray Chotiner. He's a Jimmy Hoffa's lawyer. Okay, Jimmy Hoffa's motherfucking lawyer. Okay, he ran campaigns for his field director and a governor. And that governor's name was Earl Warren. Earl Warren is financed by Jimmy Hoffa's lawyer. And there's a lot more there, but I'm just gonna resist talking about the mob for 2 hours, but there's your bullet point.
Okay, Bill Buffalino?
That's another one. I was talking about Murray Chotiner, but yeah, Buffalino, who was in the, didn't he cover the Manson case too?
Okay.
I think he did. Whatever. It's endless. Like all the mob connections, once you know where to look, it becomes strikingly obvious.
What the fuck, man? Yeah, the rabbit hole goes deep with this one. So okay, one more time. So you're saying that, Warren basically had been funded by Jimmy Hoffa's lawyer, and obviously Jimmy Hoffa hated RFK, so that was his beef.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah, so what I think what the chat is realizing here for me doing this stream is a lot of people wanted the Kennedy brothers gone, man. Holy fuck, bro. It's like I'm losing track of all the people that wanted these guys gone. Like,
well, they were busting up a syndicate that was running the state of California, basically. I mean, the governors, Hollywood, all that, Vegas, gambling, casinos, they had everything. And Nixon was not the only mob guy. I mean, LBJ was horrible. I mean, Israel owned him completely. And this Italian and Jewish mob, they were hand in glove.
Yeah.
Completely. But at the top, Alessio's a big deal. Dallas is much more of a big deal. But they never, like I say, the clever ones, they don't want the spotlight. They love working from the shadows.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to try my best to summarize this just so the audience can kind of track here and we have like a thing. So Alessio owned a mob-run bank. He was operating a horse betting ring out of Mexico. Caesar, the shooter, was indebted to him because basically he got him out of jail in Mexico because he got in trouble down in Tijuana, I think you mentioned. So he ended up doing this favor for Alessio, who's a mob guy. Alessio puts him in touch with Mo Dalitz and some other, pro-Israel Jewish Zionists. They say...
He didn't put Thane in touch with him. He put Smith connected with them. They finance the bank and everything. Caesar's an idiot. He's just does what Alessio says. He knows nobody above him.
Okay, so he just did what Caesar, what Alessio
He's
told
the
him
bottom
to do.
of that octopus. Like,
Okay,
he's an
yeah, he's a
associate,
low level guy. So Caesar is listening to Alessio, and then Alessio tells Smith to give Caesar modalities, or
Now, so Alessio and Smith are being financed by Dallas and Cohen and a number of people I didn't even name. But
okay, just to keep it
they're the
simple,
ones
yeah.
that put him there. And then they have Frank Donaramis running Sirhan. They're like, okay, here's our patsy, a Palestinian. It's perfect. Put that little bastard there. We got a notebook that they probably wrote themselves because it's completely nuts. I sent you a picture of that too. It's the one with the writing. It looks like a kind of old paper, like tannish yellow, and pen written on it. And he's just saying Robert Kennedy, die, 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 stuff like that. It's over the top.
Yeah, I think
So
I have it
A
here.
Security is running Thane through Alessio and his cohorts, and Donaramis is running Sirhan. And at the top of the octopus, those things all connect. And Hoffa and Galente seem to be the ones that were fishing around for a contract, but they're in jail. They didn't pay it. They didn't do it. But they certainly wanted it to happen and gave their full support. And they made it. I'm just, this is my opinion. I think the condition was Kennedy will be out of your hair. You got to get Hoffa out of jail. And they did.
Okay.
And that was pressure. And it's not clear that Nixon knew they killed him or anything. He didn't want to know. He just like, these people pay me a lot of money, so it's pay to play. And they over and over again, it was an open secret, especially in the East Coast, especially in New Jersey, that you could just pay. If somebody was in witness protection program or something, you could slip in a few grand and figure out where they were and get rid of them.
Okay.
And they did it over and over again.
Okay, and I apologize for this because it's very complex. For you, this is easy. For me, I'm trying to understand this. So, Alessio,
I need charts.
So so basically, the order to kill Kennedy came from a guy named, what's his name one more time? Alessio?
Well, the contract killing came straight from the Israeli state, if you want to go all the way to the top. But Hoffa and Galente were shopping around. Okay, where is he? He's in California. Who do we have over there? Donaramis, Alessio, Smith. Okay, that's their outfit. Tell them to get rid of him. So they did. It goes by, you have area capos, right? So if he's there, if he's in California, you don't need to bring someone over from New York or something. Just use the San Diego branch. So who you have there? For Arnold Smith, he's not in the mob, but he is because he facilitates it all. He's got his Zaibatsu at Westgate, California. Alessio, his shareholder, and basically they merged their money together, 100% in the mob. And then he has his goons. And that's where you can get Lipton's brothers and Desmond and blah, blah, blah. That's a big story. It would take me a while to flush that out. But I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. I'm just saying, all you need to know is mafia assholes working at the behest of multiple interests, but the most powerful of those interests are obviously getting Nixon to be president, and the Israelis, and well, a lot of businessmen too, but the Israelis really, really, really need RFK not to research JFK.
Okay.
And that there will incorporate the FBI and CIA too, because Angleton's counterintelligence branch did hand over the technology to build the bomb to the Israelis. They were stealing uranium. They were doing it in secret. Kennedy was after him. Once Kennedy was removed, they went ahead and gave it to him. And they did it in secret. Like one part of the government didn't tell another part of the government what it was doing. And so that completely broke the treaties they were trying to do with the Soviet Union on the stopping the proliferation of nuclear weapons and trying to get a treaty, something Kennedy was breaking his back on. He got the French on board, which is almost impossible. And they tried to kill de Gaulle too. Multiple assassination attempts on Charles de Gaulle. Same reason. They did not want France working with the United States on a nuclear freeze. Because Israel felt like Ben-Gurion and the maggots from Haganah that formed the IDF, it's now the Jewish agency, but they thought it was an existential threat if they didn't get the bomb, and Kennedy wouldn't let them do it. They had to get rid of him. And so the low-level octopus, as I say, like the shooter doesn't matter. Okay, Thane Caesar show. Who cares? He isn't anything. It's the people behind them that matter. Like, focus on the top of the pyramid, not the bottom. So I try to tell Corey, but I think he's just, the bottom is very, very interesting. So I get it. Or just the research is kind of fun, but you're never going to be able to explain all that shit to people. Like, just tell them the main thing on the top. At the top, Ben Gurion got rid of Kennedy, and Angleton was his like U.S. Liaison, you could say. And then Ted Shackley, blah blah blah. And with RFK, it's the same people, and they killed him in California instead of Texas, so it's the different mob, whatever. But it was Alessio's outfit. Thane is just some expendable loser, and he lived a long life. Went to the Philippines for the rich. I think RFK Jr. knew too, because he was on his way to meet him.
Yep.
Maybe he just knew he was there as a witness, so he just wanted to meet someone else that was there, very close to his dad when his dad was murdered. Who knows what he knows? I think he knows. You can tell RFK is intelligent. He's compromised. That's the problem. And Thane Caesar passed away before they met. And maybe he really just was old and died, or maybe nobody wanted him to meet him because he was going to go, yeah, I did it.
Yeah, he kept trying to.
When you're that
get
old,
money.
why not just admit it?
He kept trying to get money out of RFK too. Like, oh, it's 10K, now it's 20K if you want to talk to me. Like all this bullshit.
Yeah. You want me to admit it? Pay me.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to get? Yeah, I was there. He gave radio interviews and stuff too. He said he pulled his gun out. And he's such a schmuck. He's like, well, I would have had a I didn't have the hammer. Oh, he's like a Bugs Bunny villain. Just, see you want a knuckle sandwich? Like one of them, just like that caricature.
Gotcha. So
it's terrible.
So holy shit. All right. So I'm going to try my best to summarize everything here for the audience, and you just tell me if I'm right or what I'm missing. I'm going to be very, it's not going to be as detailed. So I'm going to just keep it simple for the people that are listening, because we threw a lot out here. I've been going out for 5 hours and almost 6 hours. So
you got to be worn out from JFK. So me too. I've been talking all night.
It's all good. It's all good. I think this is important, especially with, all the normies finally coming out and talking about this shit and, vindicating guys like you and Corey Hughes that have been talking about this for a minute. So, all right. So first, we know that JFK stood in between Israel and his nuclear program. That was a huge threat to Israel, because obviously they're surrounded by the Arab world. Them not having a nuclear bomb would seriously hinder their ability to exist. So we know that they had this thing. Kennedy found out that they had this thing, wanted nuclear inspections. They needed him gone. So Kennedy is killed, right? Fair registration ends. Nuclear program continues. RFK accepts the Warren Commission privately, publicly, but privately he has still been snooping around and trying to figure out who killed his brother. He figures out that he's on the trail and he starts to run for president. Seems as though he might win. Nixon knows that knows that not just that he's going to be competing against RFK, but also Israel knows that if RFK ever becomes president or reopens the investigation, they're going to find the links to Israel's involvement in his brother's death, and that would create them a lot of problems. On top of that, the mob had an axe to grind, because RFK was the one that actually went after them when he was attorney general, so they needed him gone as well. So they go ahead and they employ Caesar, a low-level idiot, to become a security guard so they can get close to RFK to do the assassination. Another part of the mob finds the patsy with Sirhan. He owed some gambling debts. He's there at the perfect place at the perfect time with a pamphlet in his back pocket saying death to America or whatever it may be, or free Palestine. He's there. Caesar's right behind RFK. He shoots him behind the head, kills him. Sirhan is in front of RFK. They use Sirhan as the patsy. Sirhan's lawyer is a mob affiliate associate. He's not there to defend Sirhan. Rather, he's there to ensure that Sirhan never actually, no one else is implicated in the crime. He takes the fall. Sirhan interviewed after the fact, has no fucking idea what he even did, doesn't know how he's there. The physical evidence doesn't line up between the autopsies, the bullet trajectories, and the amount of shots fired between two different credible witnesses. And to this day, we haven't gotten the real story. Well, until, people like you have broken it. We still think Sirhan killed him, but in reality, it was Caesar who was hired by the mob to do it. Low-level guy. The reality is the people from Tel Aviv and the mob needed RFK gone, because he would have opened up the investigation, continued the fair registration, and created quite a bit of problems for a lot of people. Is that fair?
Imagine what would have happened if he lived. Yeah, and then his co-counsel was mob too. It was whatever. That's a good summary.
Okay.
That's like the physical
Kinda like the
evidence
damn video.
shows that Thane did it. That's it. And then it would take me longer, but I can concretely prove that it's not a coincidence that you know, it's Grant Cooper and Russell Parsons that happen to be Sirhan's lawyers, and Sirhan just happened to be at the Corona horse feed breeding farm, and that Ace Securities run by the only bank in the area run by the mob. And it's John Alessio, the same guy that got him out of jail in Tijuana, is the one that has the controlling share. It's clear why they did it. And then you look at what happened afterward with all the criminals getting pardoned and the same conglomerate pushing money to the right people. Yeah, that's what happened. And it continues on, and Israel did get the bomb, and they had another war, Yom Kippur in 73. So they had the 6-day war, they had the 56 war, the 48 war. They started all of them.
And also that's a good point that you mentioned. I forgot, because everyone forgets about, Angleton, who was literally critical to Israel's ability to be able to get this done. Angleton would have gotten exposed too if RFK lived.
Yeah, they would have realized that the U.S. government had given Israel the technology and know-how, trade secrets, not just material, but how to do it. And those little bastards turned around to sell it to South Africa. And the only reason South Africa didn't get nukes is because they couldn't agree on a price.
Wow.
But Israel was going to do it. The only other racial apartheid in the world at the time, they're best friends, right?
Wow.
People don't remember South Africa was a racial apartheid state until 1990. It's amazing.
Wow, man. Ryan, I really appreciate you coming on.
And I will say this, it's reversed now, and black on white racism is no better than white on black. But that's what it is. Yeah.
No, Ryan, I really appreciate you coming on and talking about this, man. I think not enough people study the RFK case. Maybe someone can clip this up and send it to RFK Sr. himself. But there's no way he doesn't know that Israel had fingerprints all over his father's death. It seems as though a lot of people wanted RFK gone because he was a good guy. He became attorney general and he wasn't corrupt. He went after the mafia, even though it literally got him killed at the end.
It'd been like if Matt Gaetz got the position and just started throwing like George Soros and stuff in jail. That's kind of what it was like. Like these guys had Soros level power.
It's a good comparison.
Imagine that. I mean, Putin did that. He took a whole bunch of billionaire oligarchs and either kicked them out of the country or jailed them. South Korea had a moment like that where they went after big presidents, businessmen and stuff. America's never had a cleaning like that. Hoffa went to jail a little while, whatever. But RFK was on it. And more so, it was the television trials. Like people were addicted to this like an O.J. Simpson trial. It was fun. They were watching the Kennedys bring these known mobsters who'd flaunted their power out and just grilling them. Oh, I can't remember. Oh, and then the mob started shooting their own people who embarrassed them. They started killing their own. And anyone that talked to Congress, they had them killed. The Italian mob was no joke, man. Like if you were people didn't talk because they'd murder you. And it was a lot easier to do. There weren't cell phone cameras everywhere and all that stuff. Like if you just show up and baseball bat someone in the head, whatever, they had people willing to do whatever they wanted.
Yeah, no technology.
They were the muscle for a lot of this stuff. Now it's far more professional because the CIA ends up, they just finance organized crime. They don't call it that. They call them cartels. Mm-hmm. They call them Al-Qaeda. They call them Al-Shabaab. They call them Boko Haram or ISIS or whatever. But it's just local crime. That's all it is.
Shit, man.
The USAID, which ironically Kennedy created, got subverted to pay paramilitary groups all over the world. And it's remained that way until Trump shut it down in January, but only temporarily. They'll be back. Because he can't get rid of it. He can only freeze it. Rubio could get rid of it, but I don't think he will. He only could do is freeze it and go, oh, we're going to look and see. He needs an audit, basically. But after that time period passes, it'll be back as normal. But it's very funny seeing all the outfits, the Bellingcats and all these like media things disappear without U.S. aid, including a lot of people that were after the Tate brothers. And I hope they countersue all those faggots that were just like hate farmers and stuff. This is important because they go after influencers and like whether people might know who I'm talking about. Some of you do, some of you don't. But like, if you don't stop it there, it just grows. You could be next. I already got blanket banned, but like, shit, if I had the money, there's a lot of people I could sue. But they know the ADL is a defamation league. That's what it is. And all these people, they're getting ADL awards and stuff. Like the ADL has always been tied to organized crime. B'nai B'rith, they were all over the Kennedy shootings.
They were.
B'nai B'rith are the ones that defended or that created the ADL after Leo Frank murdered Mary Fagan. And I'll tell you this about that. Leo Frank raped a whole bunch of little girls. Mary Fagan's the one he got in trouble for because he murdered her, not just raped her. He got another girl pregnant who had to leave because in 1912, that was so you could not have a baby out of wedlock. And I'm actually talking to Mary Fagan's ancestor next week. We're going to go over the whole case. People kind of know
Yeah, she was on Stu Peters
what I
not so long
already
ago.
put out, and they don't know the whole story. And they act like they do, but it's so funny. I'm like, where's the rest of it? And after I put it out, they're all going to pretend like they know it all along. They didn't. Well, I'll be talking to her. I'm excited about that.
No, it'll be good. I saw that she went on the Stu Peters show, I think, and talked about it as well. Because obviously the the whole ADL creation to defend the rapist is obviously ridiculous. But yo, Ryan, tell them real quick about your 9/11 remake that you're making, and then I'm gonna close out and let you go because I know you've been on with me for a bit.
Oh, yeah, we're like 20% finished for that. But we did the hardest stuff first. So I think even though there's more, we can breeze through the rest of it. It's Empire and Mass. I don't want to call it Empire and Mass 2, but it's a remake of Empire and Mass. But it's pretty much a new film because I have so much more information than I was able to get back in 2011 or whatever. But I did not have the president. Like if you saw Numek, it's more along that caliber.
Yeah.
Whereas my older films is just me with Windows Movie Maker.
Yeah.
I made them because I'm like, I didn't know I was ever going to be recognized, and I was like doing it just out of spite. Like, I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
But yep. And I need to do
When
one
does
on
that
this.
come out?
This thing I'm wearing right now is the Epstein map.
When does the 9/11 remake come out?
I don't know. I think maybe August we'll have something finished that I can shop around.
You're fully funded on it, right? Like it's done, like funding wise.
I got what I asked for.
Okay.
That doesn't mean it's what I needed. It just means what I thought I could get. There's a difference.
Gotcha.
You know, It's like, I think I can raise about this much. And it took like 2 years just to get that much. You know, it's like 30 grand or something, which other people could pull in a day. But I don't, when you're banned on everything and I can't have PayPal, Patreon, like I could have just raised that myself. I could have made that on YouTube in like 3 weeks.
Where can people donate to it?
GiveSendGo.com/9/11.
Hold on, let me
still
pull it
donate
up.
if you want.
Hold on. Let me pull it up on the screen for that. It's GiveSendGo.
The same thing Kyle Rittenhouse had to use because he's also banned on everything.
And I type in 9/11.
Yep, GiveSendGo.com/911.
Hold on.
And this is when this thing comes out, it's gonna change the world.
This is it right here, right?
I can't see,
Oh,
but
you
if
can't
you went
see?
to Gibson Go,
Let me
9/11,
share.
Yeah.
Boom. This it, right?
Myron Gaines has started screen. Oh, yep, there it is. Film
This is it, right?
remaster.
Okay. So yeah, guys, this is where you can
We got 32 out of 35. You know, whatever we can get, the more I get, the better it'll be. Put it that way, and the faster it'll come out. But right now we're down to 2 people, so we're making this on our own. I've done all the narration and the research, but there's thousands of documents. I don't know if you know how many documents for Numek. That's why there's 9 minutes of credits of showing all the things, and it goes over September 11th and the Iraq War and them boys, Saudi Arabia too, of how our world really works. The U.S. government, very similar to Angleton, you had with George Tenet and his little cell in the CIA, facilitated this operation. They were financed and continued afterward. They financed Al Qaeda and ISIS in Syria openly.
Yeah. I mean,
it's not even like doubtable now.
Yeah,
they did it in Afghanistan. The whole creation with BCCI, the whole history of Al Qaeda is from the CIA, and they would outsource Safari Club style to the Saudis and the Pakistanis and stuff. But they're all getting a green light from Uncle Sam. but they're not getting it from the president. It's from the spooks. It's a little side government that we have.
Mm-hmm. I don't think enough people know, like how ISIS was literally like an American invention.
Absolutely. There was an organic rebellion in Syria. Like people didn't like Assad, but that, I mean, 98% was foreign mercenary terrorists backed by Turkey with which is now called HDS, but they used to be called the Al-Nusra Front. And then you had Aral al-Sham and the Muslim Brotherhood and the FSA, all these factions in Syria backed by different outside sponsors. The Gulf countries, the GCC had some, Turkey and Israel had some. And always ISIS, they never attack Israel. They'd only attack Alawites and Shia, Druze and Christians, these like Salafist Wahhabi fanatics from everywhere, from Turkmenistan, Uyghurs from China. They're not Syrian. They don't even speak Arabic. They're just there to kill religious minorities and get a paycheck.
Yeah.
And they funneled weapons to them through Purple Shovel, these little private companies. They're moving small arms out of Bulgaria and places like that, and Croatia. They gave them tow missiles, and Obama gave them all these brand new Toyota pickup trucks, Hilux. They're indestructible. And they ravaged hell in that country from about 2011 to 2019. There was a relative peace where they had taken over Idlib and the Kurds had annexed Rojava, and then they came back, and within 12 days, because Syria was broke, they couldn't even pay their army. And now they're out there killing people in the streets again. And Israel's annexed the lower half. They took Mount Hermon. They took the rest of the Stolen Heights. It's Greater Israel.
You know,
the U.S. financed the whole thing.
Isn't it interesting too how like right after the ceasefire happened, like Syria was taken over in 10 days? Did you ever find that interesting?
Yeah. As soon as the ink wasn't even dry.
Yeah.
They're going to start that front.
Crazy, isn't it?
That was part of the whole plan. And then they had ISIS attack the other day when America bombed Yemen and Israel bombed Gaza. HDS attacked Lebanon, all three at the same time. But Lebanon beat that ass, so that didn't work at all. And the bombing on Yemen it's not going to make any difference. But the bombing on Gaza, they killed about just shy of 500 people. It was just civilians. They didn't kill Hamas. It's the whole plan's extermination. They've killed like 200,000 people. That's why they keep saying 1.8 million. It's like, no, it's 2 million. Where did the other 200,000 people go? Don't give me this shit like, oh, they killed 40, 50,000. Nah. Even the Lancet said it had over 100,000 last summer. They've killed like 200,000 innocent people, babies, children. And that's why I'm jaded about the Kennedy stuff. I'm glad people care. I usually don't talk about Kennedy. You know that. I hate doing it. I'm kind of like oversaturated on it because I'm like, guys, yeah, okay, they killed them, but you got to open genocide that's not even hidden right in front of your face happening right now. And there's no consequences for that either. Do you think they care about Kennedy?
I want to say this real quick, Ryan. Obviously, I feel as though I owed you this. I just sent $2,500 to you. You hit your goal of 3,500.
Nice.
You know what I mean?
Makes up for the Florida thing.
Yeah, no worries. I think, you know, and if anyone else wants to donate to this, you can. I'm going to drop the link in my chat.
We can go over the goal. I was asking him, these movies usually cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. I know that ain't going to happen, but it's important. And I just don't know who else can do this.
Nah, man. I mean,
I have to do it.
You have to. You have to do it because, like, at the end of the day, you know, whether, and I talked a little bit about it earlier with like the Tennessee ring with the DMV bullshit. You're the only guy that could talk about this stuff, man. So, look, I'm putting my money where my mouth is.
Wait and see what I found out.
Yeah, no, I'm excited
I got
for
some good stuff.
And when you put it out, it's gonna be great, man. So you hit your goal. You know, I hope this thing comes out ASAP. You know, if I can contribute more later, I definitely will as well. If it ends up where you need more funding, but this is gonna be great. I love NUMEC. I think this needs to come out for the people so they can get the truth on 9/11, man. And I feel as though I owe you this. So, yeah, dude, we got NUMEC with Arabic titles now. Yeah, that's great. That's great. So yeah, man. Yeah, you know, spread the truth far and wide, man. I just put it right here, fresh and fit. So if you guys want to donate to the film, go ahead and do it. But no, bro, keep telling the truth. And, it sucks that these motherfuckers censored you, but, we're here to support you. So I'm
The
going to.
censorship sucks, and it's just they fuck me up financially.
Yeah.
Like I
Sucks.
would be a millionaire if I just had a YouTube, even much less the Patreon was pulling in like 10K a month
Yep.
alone. And that was before Epstein got arrested and all that. Can you imagine that, the Ukraine war? I could finance all these things myself if I was just allowed on the normal things that other people are allowed on. I can't have an Instagram or a Facebook or any of that shit either. Not allowed on any of that stuff.
Yeah, I just got
So
banned
I'm not
from
allowed
Instagram.
on Streamlabs or anything either. Can't have Google AdSense. I can't even be on Coinbase. So like,
Fucking annoying,
I could
man.
not participate in the crypto stuff because I wasn't allowed on exchanges. But that tells you if I'm that much of a threat, that means I must be correct. Because I don't go out and say anti-Semitic bullshit or any of that. Never have. I've always not only not said that, I've spoken out against it, and I still get censored.
Yeah.
The information is dangerous, and I'm wearing this Epstein hoodie right now, but like when all these things are talking about the files, Epstein, 9/11, JFK, RFK, MFK, who do we know? Like life is dedicated to those topics and made movies about all of them. Me, I did that. And the film on the CIA's greatest hits is on Twitter right now. I uploaded it this morning. If you're subbed, you can watch it now. I have a feeling I'll probably put it out free later. It's weird. Like I want everyone to have the information, but I also need to get paid by something. And I'm like, well, yeah, I need a sugar daddy or something.
Hey, man. Well,
it really sucks. Like these people at Daily Wire and stuff are getting paid by USAID, and all they do is fucking lie to you. And
well,
you
that's
the people
the conservative media in general.
CNN, Fox, whatever, they just sit there and lie to you, give you war propaganda, tell you to take the jab. Doctor, it's just shit. And everybody, not just me, but anyone that speaks out or gets too close to the sun, all the people we named in the beginning, Grant Smith and Jeff Blankford's another one. Michael Piper died alone in a motel room with a cat. And he wrote all these books and was a trailblazer, and they just fucked him into the dirt. I don't want to end up like that. Doug Valentine. Oh, yeah, now that we have the camera. This book, The CIA is Organized Crime. That's Doug right there on the back. All his books.
Yeah, he wrote.
Corey would plug them too. He's talked to him a lot. The Strength of the Pack and The Strength of the Wolf. 2 different books. So good. So detailed. I recommend them.
No,
this one here has
stuff.
a couple of our interviews in it too. Doug's the man.
Yeah, man. So I am. Show my camera turn off. Dude, I'm gonna jump off the Zoom call, but I'll stream for a little bit longer, close out. But dude, again, I'm excited for the movie. I hope it comes out soon. And like I said, man, any little bit that I can contribute. But I'm gonna jump off, dude. Thank you so much for coming on.
That's a big stress relief. What you just did, I was like, now I know exactly what I'm going to do with that.
Nice.
I know who to pay. I know the set. We're going to do the anthrax section with that piece of the money right there.
Perfect. Awesome. No, man. Awesome, dude. Just spread the truth, man. That's what really matters. We need more people to wake up to 9/11, JFK, RFK, and people are waking up, man. So, thanks, dude, for coming on. I appreciate it. I'll bring you on another stream.
Thanks. I got some pedophile rings to go over that we could bring attention to.
Yeah.
I got a series trying to get people to listen. That I think that was about the end of that, but yeah, get a call right then. The Lee case. We're going over the Lee brothel case, and I gotta handle something. Anyway, thanks for watching. That is a bit on RFK. I went into even more detail on 21st Century Wire with Patrick. That is out right now on his Twitter and on his Rumble. I will put copies on here, but I like to get, the traffic all over to the people that did the interviews first. So you can watch that too. Got in a little bit more detail. Some of the people who were at Daily Plaza were at the Ambassador Hotel to witness what was about to go down. It's sick, man. And it's just, our media is broken. That's the problem. Broken media. You guys would know all these things if they didn't keep canceling everybody accurate who could tell you. And I did a show with Sean Atwood. We talked about Yemen and Iran and Trump and the current things. And then somebody in his chat asked me what to do. I cannot stress how important the press is, a functional press. If you look at the Ukraine-Russia war narrative, the counter narrative to all the millions of dollars they spent on war propaganda, anti-Russia war propaganda, the whole counter narrative is only a couple dozen people. It's the Doug McGregors, it's the Larry Johnsons, it's the Scott Ritters, it's the Mersheimers, to a degree Blumenthal, Lawrence Wilkerson, all the people on Judge Knapp's show, basically, the Scott Hortons, who wrote the book, and then I'd say like people like me and Patrick, and it's not a lot of people. Like you could almost name them all. But then everyone who sees those interviews and research and articles can go redisseminate them. Sometimes they reword them or whatever. But you just wouldn't know enough about it if they were to cancel a few dozen people. And that's what they did with the Iraq War and other wars. There were people who knew exactly what was going on, but you had no access to them. Social media is that important. But if it wasn't for Judge Knapp's show, most of you would not know those other people. They banned Larry Johnson from YouTube. They banned Scott Ritter from YouTube. They banned Scott Ritter from X. They banned me from X. They banned me from YouTube. That's how it is. And then people self-censor because of that. If we don't get a cyber bill of rights for free speech, they're going to drag us into War of the Ran. It'll be the same people, it'll be the same counter, the people from antiwar.com and the Gray Zone, 21st Century Wire, ANC Report will tell you the truth. But there isn't, that's not a lot of websites. It's not enough. We don't have enough because one side is paid by USAID. The other side is so canceled, is not even allowed to raise their own money. I can't use GoFundMe. I can't use a lot of stuff. But we do have Give, Sing, Go 9/11, and the film's going to be made with what we have. We're already finished with an hour of it. It's going to happen. But the more we get, the better it will be, because we can go do freshen up sections with nice animated maps and all that. If the money's there, if not, it'll be whatever the best of our ability is. Anything extra we end up with, I'm going to roll right into an RFK film, because I think that has to happen. And I know you guys are interested in JFK too, and that's something I also want to do, but just for what I can get completed faster will be RFK. And you're going to need that to understand JFK anyway. So they both have to be done. But that's the plan, is to finish up on 9/11 in Iraq and then go into RFK, and then either JFK or Epstein. I'll let the audience pick, because they're both very important. But I think this has to happen. So you can give on Give, Sing, Go. You can also send a prayer, which is fine in because it just shows a moral support, which is important. These things are psychologically tough to deal with too. Getting smashed, defamed, slandered and libeled and plagiarized. So even if you don't have any money, just say words of enthusiasm and encouragement do have an impact. So even if you're totally broke, you can send a prayer, which you could think of as a message or a prayer, whatever. But if you've got a dead Lincoln or dead Hamilton laying around, dead Benjamin, throw it in the pot. These films are going to be world changing. New Mech is just now getting legs. A lot of mainstreamers are starting to showcase that film. That would have happened a long time ago, but I just don't think it ever came across their desk because of the censorship. We're turning a corner, and we can win this. We're going to we're going to end the war in Ukraine is going to end. And a lot of those crooks are hiding. Doge is going after a lot of the waste. It's unfortunate they have such a crooked Middle East policy, but baby steps, right? So there's the link right there, givesingo.com/9/11. You can share that around. I would appreciate that too. We got some updates and things on that. We have the trailer finished. We got an hour film complete. We've got over 3 hours of the narration done. We're looking at August, we think. I don't like putting a date because something could happen, but sometimes we get 2 or 3 minutes a day. Yesterday we got 25 seconds completed, but it was a really thick part of the film. That's how it is. These are very hard to do, and getting all these documents and making it presentable in such a way that isn't just jumping around. It was very difficult to map it out. Just y'all don't need to know that, but that's why they take forever. So anyway, fuck Israel, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace. Oh, one more thing. We have this. That is Substack, where you can see a lot of these things right away. And I'm just going to check Rumble for shekel chats. It looks like there are 0, which is sad. Come on, guys. If you're watching on Rumble, you just hit the little $sign and you can donate $1, or you can just become a member on Rumble. I say that to become a member on Rumble because it's important to support Rumble as well. Rumble's out there. They're probably bleeding money, trying to compete with YouTube. And you would not have like when I was on with Kim Iverson, Rumble only. When I was on with Jimmy Dore, some of that was Rumble only, some of it was YouTube. There's shows that they can't risk losing their YouTube. And I get it. It's like, we have to push for Rumble. BitChute, Odyssey too. We're streaming this on BitChute right now. If you're watching this on BitChute, there is a pay shoot, but I just don't mess with it yet. Look at these people like, oh, don't ask for money. Oh yeah. Yeah, let's just not have films. Look, films cost money. So like, don't ask for donations. Fuck off. I don't have to do, if I had no moral compass, I don't need to do this at all. I could just work in Korea. I'd make more than I do now. And I wouldn't have to deal with all the haters and stuff. It'd be a lot easier. I wish someone else could just make the film. But like I told Myron, I don't know anyone that can. I don't know anybody that knows 9/11 in Iraq and the way that I do. They don't. So I have to do it. I feel morally obligated to put this out, and I'm going to. And there was a time period after Empire, I didn't do any movies for 5 years. Because I said, it's not worth it. It's not worth all the heat. I put War by Deception out for free. Did not raise 1 penny. I just put it out. Pure hatred and spite. Came all out of my own pocket. The first 10 films I did were not financed by anybody. I just made them. It was only from Decades of Deception and New Mech that had any financing. Everything else I've ever done was free. But if you want it to look like New Mech instead of like War by Deception, then you have to pay. Because that's just reality. And I understand how important presentation is. If you want it to be shareable, New Mech gets shared. War by Deception does not. My film on Africa does not. My film on Syria does not. Trump's Sinus Ball and Chain does not. The Biden Crime Family does not. They're great films. And I'd argue the Biden Crime Family presentation is not so bad either, but it's not New Mech level. And that all was out of pocket. Premium upgrade is worth it. It says, yeah, you get rid of commercials. I like that. I think it's worth it. Dinu13 says, fuck Lincoln, and they sent a dead Andrew Jackson. That's awesome. Phalo, oh my God. I got one eye, by the way. Yeah, I'm going blind in one of my eyes. Hooray. Tinnitus in both ears and going blind in one eye. I'm not going to be able to, if my other eye goes out, I won't be able to read. You're not going to get anything out of me soon. So that's the other part, is the clock's ticking. Genius Level sends a 20 and says, fuck Israel. Feo Vijo, or Feo Vijo, I don't know if it's Portuguese or Spanish, says, Chip Walker says hi. Oh, Chip, long time no see. Sashi Booty. Thank you for the Washington. All right. Thanks, Rumble. I think I got them all. Yeah, premium is worth it. You can add premium on Rumble. And that'll exist for all the other Rumble streamers too. You get a premium, you don't have commercials, so you can skip that. It's pretty nice. It's funny that there is a model where you're paying to not have to see ads. So many haters. I get so much hate from the white nationalists and Christian nationalists, and also like the 9/11 no planers, and there's all these factions. That truth doesn't make you friends. And that's just the nature of the internet. There's always going to be a hornet's nest of morons that gets butthurt because you've debunked the stuff that they've been saying for years and years. But I'm not making you look like an idiot. You are an idiot. You made yourself look like an idiot. I'm just pointing out the nature of the crime. You can make a playlist of your movies. We have that already. I'm going to drop a link in Rumble. You just go to ancreport.com, and there's a tab that says films. And I'm going to make it real easy by dropping it in chat. Here you go. Those are the films. You've got The Empire Unmasked. You've got New Mech. You've got Decades of Deception. You have How Terrorists Formed a Nation. Syria, Israel's Invisible Hand. What's Keeping Africa Down. Wars Always by Deception. Trump's Sinus Ball and Chain. Corn Pop's Revenge, or the Biden Crime Syndicate. And The Parasite, How Israel Stole U.S. Tech and Sold it to his enemies. Those are all out. And I have some other short ones too, but those are all listed on the website. And we also have the 9.5-hour Epstein marathon. It's not a film. It's just a series of interviews, but goddamn, it's a lot of information on Epstein. It might as well be count it as a movie, I guess. It's got greatest story level, never told length to it, but hey, it's a complicated topic. I'm just keeping this going so I can ban the retards for infinity. That's why we need a moderator. People get their 2 seconds of fame. So that was RFK. You have any questions about RFK before I hang this up? There's a lot. Before I went on Myron's show, he's like, try to make it real simple and don't, you know how I can just get cooking and it's too many names and this and that. I'm like, well, I get that you want an audience to understand this stuff right away. But thing is, some of these topics are complicated and some teenager or whatever isn't going to understand it from hearing it one time. Like, do you know how long people research JFK and RFK? How many books have been written? Hundreds and hundreds of books written about both things. It is complicated, and you do need some background and context, and you have to be intelligent. So some of you are never going to understand it. You just lack the mental aptitude to retain 4 or 5 names. You're never going to get hundreds of names. Just not happening. You don't have to be a researcher or a historian. It's fine. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to other smart people who can understand these things. That's who matters. I don't need to water it down to, people with frog avatars or whatever. Not everything is, you're so brainwashed by Hollywood. It's like, who did it? Who paid them? And it isn't simple like that. You had a mafia conglomerate that dished out payments. I don't know. It's frustrating. You can't water everything down into sound bites. There are pieces of history that are just complicated. Too bad. But we did our best to take very complex material and make it simple, but not retarded. Like, we wanted it clean as we could. And I think we did a good job. But if you're still like, oh, I didn't understand this, maybe you can't. And if you are on the other side of the spectrum, like, ooh, I want to know more about Westgate in California. That was interesting. Give me the names. I can do that too. But that's better in a presentation and stuff than an interview. Like, I like to have a whiteboard or make a film. And that's why I'm thinking we do need an RFK film, because it can be broken down with visuals, but not in a live situation where I'm like, pull up this picture, pull up that. Like, we didn't need to do that. So you did need to see the bullet holes and all that. I was very happy with the interview. I think it was great, but it is not the whole story. That is just, here's all you need to know. Yeah. Here's who killed him, and this is why. But further, if you want to go deeper into the financing and more into the why and what happened after and how it got covered up and who covered it up, it's a very long story. It's quite complex, especially if you don't have a background of the administration in the 60s and 70s, because you weren't alive, and which it's normal. Why would you know these people? Then I have to stop and explain, who's this? Like, going back to JFK, if you don't know who Dean Rusk is, you don't know who McNamara is, if I have to stop and explain things I think you're supposed to know already, then it takes even longer. So sometimes I know it's inside baseball. If you hear Corey and I talking to each other, it's just da 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 da. But hey, I'm a researcher. I never claimed to be like the best communicator on it. Zionist Cuck for two says loads of tunnels led to a room with a single bloodstained mattress accompanied by a bunch of bitten off foreskins under the fucking, this pyramid stuff is it's a huge distraction from them killing babies in Gaza. I can mod here if you want, Stephanie. Yep, let's see. Let's make her a mod. How do you do that? I'm all for that, Stephanie. I have to figure out how. Let's see her name. Stephanie's in my Telegram, so I'll give her a follow at least. All right, I'll mess with that later. Uber Tesla says, do you have an opinion on the new videos going around about what's supposedly under the pyramids? Yeah, it's bullshit. Fuck Lincoln. Yep. Every stream. Really proud of that. Do you guys want some more Civil War stuff? We can bring my brother on. It's been a minute. I love the grifter crap. These things don't make money. They lose money. Anybody in this space that talks about these topics is going to get hammered. These aren't even on my own show. I'm giving this groundbreaking information on other people's shows who can make revenue from it. Thank you, KM Baxley. Said, I think these faggots are using chat to hook up. I truly appreciate your research. Yeah, they have nothing else to do. Proud Southerner, love the Civil War. Yeah, I think it's time for some more Civil War stuff. Genius level for 10. 1945 to 2025 is the end of the 80-year cycle. What will the new republic look like? There does seem to be a 75 to 80-year cycle in history, but that doesn't mean, it's just like a pattern you see that's pretty broad given all the different areas of the world. Every 80 years, something's going to happen somewhere. I did have this weird dream when I was a kid about Donald Trump was president and Britain had a King William and it started World War III. So maybe that's what's coming. Let's hope not. Yeah, I clicked your name. It just goes to your page, Stephanie. It just does this. Let me see what the dots do. Anyway, it looks like that's it for questions. So, all right, I'm going to add some mods and we'll see you tomorrow. Okay. Peace. And thanks to everyone who does appreciate the work. Thanks to people who donate. Thanks to people who share. We need justice in this world. This never would have happened if the Kennedys had lived. You should all be upset by it. And we'll have Larry Johnson on tomorrow. We're going to talk about Yemen and Iran. Is Iran next?